So that stops making noise. And hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night Carnivore live discussion. This is a roundtable discussion. And of course, as always, you are invited to join us on the screen here. We've got room for 10. And currently we have Jeff and Paul. And so we'd love to have you join us and share in this discussion. We're going to talk about our subject for tonight. That's the new 2026 food pyramid that was recently released, championed by RFK Jr., I believe, and his committees. And then we're also going to talk about carnivore, the benefits that we receive as carnivores, and or having a meat-heavy diet. And answering questions to the like. So if you have a question, then go ahead and mention it in the chat. Make sure you use a question mark or precede it with some cues. That way we can spot them. And then we ask that you please be patient, because when we get a lot of individuals on the screen, it takes some time to go to the chat and look for these questions, because sometimes we like to talk at length. And so you can skip that whole process by joining us on the screen. We would love to have you here. Also, remember that we have a Carnivore Crisp giveaway that's going on carnivoretalk.com and on YouTube. So you can go to carnivoretalk.com, read the rules. It's highlighted in green. As soon as you see that page, you click on it, it takes you to it. It's free to enter over there. And then so go check it out. So that's open to everybody, and that'll continue to go until the end of January as we recognize World Carnivore Month, New Year's resolutions, and the like. So that's it by way of announcements. Let's say hi to our guests on screen. Let's start with Paul. How's your internet signal doing? How you doing?
I don't know how the signal's doing. I'm doing good. Just, eating as close to zero carb as I can every day, and increasing exercise slowly but surely, and just doing my thing, and just dealing with doctors now and again. And I don't know why they change things. I said, just need, update my prescription, renew it, and changes it. I go, look, I've been on Lantus insulin for a full year. It's working really good, My body's used to it, It goes to a generic brand, And I said, then trying to communicate with them is difficult. Well, his doctor's office just around the corner, so I just made another appointment and went back to hour again. So, what are you doing back here so soon? I says, well, I can't seem to message you, and if I do, you don't seem to respond. I understand you're busy, but I just figured this way here, we can eliminate any confusion in communication, and so solved it that way. And the medical world.
Yeah, so sometimes they'll switch to a generic to save money because the name brand will be more expensive. But you're just talking about insulin, right?
Yeah.
Isn't insulin? I mean,
no.
No. So
no. Hey, you take the Lantus I use is a long-acting insulin, and it's one of the few true 24-hour insulin. So you take a shot of Lantus insulin. It's a very slow reacting, long acting. Actually, what happens is when you inject it in your body, from what I understand, is it forms a solid under your skin, a precipitate, and then that dissolves into your body over 24 hours, and it's very steady. And other long acting insulins may not, depending upon the person, can vary from person to person. And it can also vary once you take a shot, it may not take effect for an hour or two, but then it goes a full 24 hours. And it's one of the more consistent insulins that there is. that's why a lot of people on it's like a baseline insulin. Just meet your baseline needs, and it's all that I need right now. I don't take very much. I rarely ever use any rapid acting insulin. It's just sitting in the refrigerator. Eventually will expire over the years, but insulin's it's a weird science. They make it from yeast and bacteria, and how they grow this stuff and how they harvest it, I have no clue. But it's and I don't think it costs a lot to make. I think it's a real money maker for companies making insulin. I think they make a lot of money.
Yeah, I've heard it's actually much cheaper than what the market sells it for. I've heard that too. A lot of people.
And there are laws, like in the United States, if you're 65 or older, you're on Medicare, the most you can be charged for a single insulin per month is $35. That's the most you can be charged. Here in Pennsylvania, we have all the lottery winnings in Pennsylvania go to the elderly. And heaven forbid, we're not going to do anything for education. So we have a program called PACE, and I can't remember what it all stands for, Pennsylvania something. The most I ever pay for any prescription is if you make less than $40,000 a year. In Pennsylvania, is $15. It's the most I ever pay for any for most prescriptions. There's a few that don't fall into that, but if you're over 65, medically, Pennsylvania is a nice place to live.
All right. Well, yeah, that sounds very good. And it sounds like you don't need that rapid acting insulin because of your quality carnivore next to zero carb diet. Yep.
Yeah, it just.
Yep.
And the thing I've discovered, and I never had realized this, I see it on my continuous glucose monitor, but carbs can stick around for 72 hours. When you eat something, that carb effect to your blood sugar it can go on for 72 hours, and it can come and go. And I it's beyond me. I just what somebody said, and I kind of thought, well, they seem to know something about what they were talking about. I don't know how true that is, but.
Yeah, well, I think it would be dose dependent. Like if you eat a handful of blueberries, that's probably going to metabolize much faster than if you ate half a chocolate cake. So I think that comes into play there. So how about Jeff? How you been this last week? What's going on down in the big state of Texas?
Everything's going good. Weather's been a little chilly here past couple of days in the morning, but it's been warming up pretty nice in the afternoons. As usual, getting a lot of work done. So I had to have my annual Medicare physical here a couple of weeks ago. I got my blood results back, and most everything's pretty much status quo as far as my cholesterol. It hasn't changed none, which is good. But a little something interesting came up on it that I want to discuss later on, but it doesn't have anything to do with the food pyramid at this time. So as we drift off of that subject, and it won't take long, I want to get into my lab results and talk about that a little bit.
All right. Yeah, I've got my first appointment tomorrow with my endocrinologist. I've never been to one, but this goes back 3-4 months to my last visit with my PCP, who is now moved on. So I'm now doctorless. I'm looking for a new doctor, and I'm probably going to get a DO. But he had referred me to an endocrinologist because my cholesterol had gotten a bit higher than he was comfortable with. And the office called me and they said, your cholesterol's high. The doctor would like to put you on a statin. And I'm like, well, no, thank you. And then he was like, well, they'd like to refer you to an endocrinologist then. And I thought, oh, okay. Just for the experience, but all the last couple of days I've been actually wishing I had just canceled it because I'm going to go into there with the same mentality that I have now. I'm not concerned with that department, and I'm still not going to take any statins. So
Maybe you can help educate him.
maybe.
I've never heard of anybody referred to an endocrinologist for cholesterol. I've just never heard that before.
Used to be a cardiologist, and now they've moved that to endocrinology. So
walk in there with the full armor of Carnivore.
Yeah, the full armor of Carnivore. I like that. Yeah, so I'll be doing that tomorrow, and I'll share that experience. I'll share what goes on, probably next Monday. Let's go say hi to the chat since it hasn't really taken off too much yet. It'll be easy to catch up on. The first in the door was Linda Flanagan. Hello. Good to see you. Then we got Sandy Blythe. And Jeff, if you've seen it, he's in blue and he's got a little wrench by his name. I finally managed to make him a moderator on this channel.
Yeah, y'all watch out. I'm a hard taskmaster.
And then Paul, who's joined us on screen, is here. And we got Jamette. Says good evening. And let's see here. New pyramid food triangle, I guess better than the old pyramid, step 1. Yeah, that's basically the gist of my opinion too. We'll get that in a moment. And let's see here. We got Linda McDaniel. Glad to have you here. Brian Dish. And here's Target Prime Rib and Bacon Runner. So, okay, good to see everybody jumping in here. Grandma Nina 25. That sounds new to me. Yeah, if you're new here, let me know. I like to have new participants in the chat, new viewers on the channel. And while you're at it too, I always forget to say this till someone else does first, but I just remembered. Please hit that like button on this video, and if possible and if appropriate, go ahead and share the link somewhere. That would be great. Help the YouTube algorithm push this out to more individuals here. Target Prime Rib says 12 days lion diet, because this is the 12th. So that's how he's observing World Carnivore Month. He's doing a strict lion diet. Had some stomach issues this morning, but otherwise doing great. And my sugars have been superb. Yes, I bet they have been. The stomach issues, that could be anything. It's January, a lot of bugs going around. That might be nothing at all. All right. Brian says it's the insurance company's dictation what they want them to prescribe. Unfortunately, that is often true. The insurance company will inject their opinion. I know one of my prescriptions, the pharmacy kept switching to a generic, but the doctor wanted the name brand, and he had to specifically demand that the name brand be prescribed. Oh, let's see here. Here's the new food pyramid is still meat and vegetables. I saw Mitch's opinion, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry, Dr. Berg. I guess it's better than what we had. What do you think? Yeah, we'll jump into that in just a second. And DS111B8B says it's less bad is what John Laspina, carnivore teacher, said a while ago. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's less bad. Let's see here. We have Bride's Biscuit. And here's Kelly, Broken Carnivore. Hop on screen, Kelly. How you doing? All right. Let's see here. So less bad, still veggies in it, and grains. Yes, you know what? The thing with the food pyramid is it's got to accommodate all people, not just us carnivores. So, but I think the things in it are in the right order. We'll get to that again in just a minute. Let's see here. Grandma G2. Hello, everyone. I went MIA for a bit. My kidney function is 8.1. I just gave up for a while, made the decision to get back on board and hopefully stay off dialysis until I can get a transplant. Are you referring to your EGFR 8.1? Is that EGFR calculated using creatinine? So mine was that low in November of 24. And I know how scary it can be, but then I got it to go up to 13. Last time I had it checked, it was 12, but I'm in the same boat as you. I'm doing everything I can to try and stay off dialysis. So my battle is my kidneys are so shot that I can't seem to do anything about my blood pressure. So in fact, I called my nephrologist and I've asked for certain blood pressure meds that I want to try next. So I agree, no statins. Let's see here. Grammy, and good luck on the transplant soon. Are you on the transplant list? Or do you have one scheduled? That's interesting. Coach Angela Mullins is here. Hello, good to have you. And let's see here. Yeah, a lot more comments came in. All right. Carnivore Jerry is no more fasting. Another 40 days done and in the books. Well, congratulations. You have some amazing, amazing willpower. Very good. We're all proud of you. And then the question is, how do you feel? DS111 says, I surmise the new pyramid Laspina showed was designed for children and their parents who might be overwhelmed with too many words on it. It does look kind of cartoonish, the illustration. So that's a good observation there. All right. Let's see here. And Angela Mullins is doing the line diet, 5.4 pounds down. I am 3 pounds down. I'm not doing a strict line diet though. And, but my World Carnivore Month has been to practice intermittent fasting every day and stay as close to true carnivore as I possibly can. I did have to break it. I didn't have to break it, but I did break it on one occasion. And so I'm 11 out of 12 days. I've been good. So Bride's Biscuit says pyramid is less bad. It will help some people make a positive shift. It is what it is. It's a small step with some level of net positive attached. The fight goes on. And here's our comedian from last week is back. My man, Colonel Sanders. Nice to see you again.
You too.
All right. Good to have you back, Southbridge. You watching alone or you watching with the wife again? Let's see here. Papa Carnivore agrees. Step in the right direction. Rome wasn't built in a day, you know. And then maybe need that BP med, as my cis had to change a few times. So yeah, so I was ever since the phenofibrate debacle, I'm borderline hypertensive crisis. You know, I'm 170 over 110, and I was switched from losartan potassium full strength to olmesartan potassium. I'm sorry, olmesartan something. I don't remember what it is because it's supposed to be better, but I'm not at the max dose. I'm only at a half dose. So. And then I also quadrupled my beta blocker, which is called nebivolol. But that ended up causing me some issues with nebivolol. So I stopped taking it, and my issues went away. But now my blood pressure is back to hypertensive crisis levels again. So I'm actually requesting to double my olmesartan to the highest dose. And then I want to start introducing a calcium channel blocker. I've done my research and I'm hoping to get amlodipine. So I'm going to try that. And then I might come back in at the low nebivolol dose that I've been taking for years because I did tolerate that. But when we quadrupled it, I started to have other malfunctions that I did not like. All right. Let's see here. Very good. Scroll through some of these comments. So, he's alone this time. He's watching by himself. That's okay. We're glad you're taking the time to join us here. All right. So I am caught up. All right. Caught up for now. So yeah, let's talk about this new food pyramid. And by all means, hop on your devices and click the link that's pinned to the top and join us on screen and let us know what your opinions are. And I'll post that link one more time in the chat. Because if you're on Facebook or X, there's nothing pinned. So there you go. But I agree that I think the new food pyramid or upside down food pyramid is definitely a step in the right direction. The descriptive part of it, I think, makes more sense than the illustration. Because in the illustration, they show food. Let's see here. Let me bring it up on screen. Oh, we lost Paul. He'll be back. Let's see here. All right. How's that work? Okay. All right. So up on the screen, the illustration, we've got the meat and the vegetables side by side. That's what's pictured. But in the description, they tell you to put more emphasis on protein, dairy, and healthy fats first at the very top. And maybe that's why it's to the left in order. And then, actually, I should put the illustration I used in my thumbnail up because I think it was more accurate. Let me do that too. And then below that is your vegetables, and below that is your fruits, and then below that is your whole grains, and at the very bottom, things you should seldom touch are your ultra processed foods. I'm completely on board with that, actually, as far as order of quality, order of importance. So now, of course, I won't touch grains, but the rest of it is kind of like how much I eat anyway, so I'm predominantly meat and dairy. And then I occasionally might eat a plant material, even more rare, some fruit. And then, of course, I've made this vow that I will never eat grains unless it's my wedding anniversary. And so this is definitely what I would call a step in the right direction. Is it something that's going to work for everybody? No. We discuss that every week. It's not something that works for everybody, but I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm actually surprised. I was surprised to see this. And I've also learned that some of the people that have been advising RFK Jr. are actually people that we listen to in the carnivore community, like Ben Bickman or Paul Saladino and whatnot. So he's been surrounded by some pretty good individuals in our health sphere, in our area of interest when it comes to our lifestyle. And it's definitely had an impact on him as well. So I think this is a good thing. I don't know how long it'll stick, maybe, in 3 years when the pendulum swings the other way, someone will come in and get rid of it. Who knows? What are your opinions on it though? Let me know in the comments and we'll come back to them. And then let's ask Jeff, what do you feel about this new eat real food pyramid diagram? And
kind of a love-hate here. Yeah, I got a lot on this. The pyramid diagram to start with, I don't like them putting vegetables with what appears to be on an equal footing with your meats. I believe I could restructure that a whole lot better. I do like that they've got the whole grains at the very bottom. Personally, I see no reason for any grains being on it whatsoever. But like you said, they've got to cater to everybody. So yeah, I could change that around a lot. They got butter way too low. They got what appears to be yogurt way too low. There's a lot I could do to change that up. And I know in the description, they don't describe it exactly like this. But the problem is 99% of the people aren't going to read what was actually said about it. They'll look at that and think, oh, okay, well, I can eat plenty of vegetables along with my meats. And that really can get you in trouble by eating that many carbs in conjunction with your meat, because then you're dealing with the whole deal where you're running off of glucose and you're storing your fat, so raising your insulin. Now we know that vegetables don't raise it up like, fruits do and like, Cokes and whatnot do, but it's still going to raise your insulin levels. Paul, of course, can speak a whole lot more on that than I can. But one of the biggest things I dislike about it is when you read their guidelines, actually read them, they've got saturated fat at 10%. And this whole thing doesn't work without it. If you're going to go on a meat-based diet, it's not going to work without the fat. You can't go all protein and very little fat. I know they're advocating more the fruit oils. But still, I think you need your saturated fats a whole lot higher than that. And is this going to really change anything? I hope it does, but I'm very skeptical that it will. And I'm afraid that the next administration gets in, if it isn't an administration that's on board with this, they're just going to want to change things around. They'll use their own doctors to change it up. Big food is deep, deep, deep into the politicians' pockets. And I can see where the big food is not going to like this at all, and they're going to be doing everything they can to campaign against this. Where I hope it helps the most is in school lunches. Throw out all that junk that a certain president's first lady tried killing our kids with in the school lunches. And maybe this can change the school lunch guidelines, and maybe it can change how we feed our military, because I know they talked about changing the military food guidelines due to this. And I think that would be a really, really good thing to do, because I know how we ate, and I know how they eat now, or I've heard how they eat now, and they really need to change in the military how they're eating. So that's basically my take on the whole thing.
I have
All
a
right.
question.
Sure, go ahead, Paul.
How does this new pyramid address the seed oil issue? I don't understand.
The only way it addresses it is it kind of doesn't really say much about it, as it says you should prioritize fruit oils, your olive oil, your avocado oil, coconut oil. It says you should prioritize those.
Okay.
You should keep your saturated fats at around 10% of your diet. It kind of just ignores the seed oils, or puts them at a much lower level.
Yeah, let's see here. There's a PDF, and it talks about healthy fats. And yeah, it doesn't really address seed oils.
No, it just prioritizes like I said, the fruit oils, which, is not a bad thing, but it's not optimal. And that's my thing, is I prefer optimization.
Yeah, so they do not address seed oils whatsoever. So that's what it is. When you look at the PDF, comes with a large description. I haven't looked at the whole PDF yet. I don't. Oh, so yeah. So it says, in general, saturated fat consumption should not exceed 10% of total daily calories. Significantly limiting highly processed foods will help meet this goal.
And that would get rid of a lot of the seed oils and everything. Is this better than what it was? Yes. Will people really pay attention to it after being brainwashed for their whole lives that this is wrong? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, maybe some others are going to be stuck in their ways, but maybe this will influence, positively generations to come.
I personally don't think this is going to get anybody to throw out their Lucky Charms and their Doritos. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well,
these people eat the way they want to eat anyways.
Right, and those things are addictive, and it's just like telling a drug addict, "Hey, drugs are bad. Just say no." But they don't listen. So yeah, you'll have those obstacles too. And and so, but yeah, they obviously, since this is written for everybody, they have to address everybody in general. So they want to prioritize protein, healthy fats, and dairy, and then, they got to still make an allowance for vegetables and fruits, which aren't necessarily, bad per se, depending on you or your individual's, physiology. And then, but that's kind of where. But again, I'm kind of, when it comes to greens, I'm like, I would just assume strike greens off the list. But they
absolutely no use for them.
Right.
None.
They have to say whole grains over processed grains. And
Which that's a
and
whole
if you're gonna
that's a
eat,
whole nother issue right there.
if you're gonna eat grains, I mean, yes, the whole over the processed in general might be true, but you have some oh you have some contradictions there though, because like, we found research that like, brown rice, which is a whole grain, is actually worse for you than
Yep.
white rice, which is a processed grain. So something like that's not necessarily universal. So,
Well, the
but as
whole
far
reason
as
for I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
the whole reason for the whole grain was just to get the fiber from the husks, from the
Mhm.
bran. Had
Yeah.
nothing to do with nutrition because there's no nutrition in the grains that we have today. It was all about the fiber. And you listen to Dr. Berry talk about that subject, and he'll flat tell you you're better eating. If you're going to eat bread, you're better off eating white bread than you are eating whole grain bread, because that whole grain does nothing for you.
Okay. It's so as far as this order of importance, and I'm going to bring up this other one, the one I used in my thumbnail, I think it's the same thing, but I think it's illustrated better. So let me figure out. Let me remove this, and let me add this other one. Share screen, and okay, that's not it. That's not it.
What we were,
Oh, okay, here
what
it
I
is.
hope this does is help to change how nutritionists and doctors look at what we. That's the biggest thing that will help us is if we can get through to them.
Yeah. So here's an illustration. This is where I stole the one from my thumbnail. It's originally from this healthsbloom.com. It's their illustration. I robbed it. But but I think this illustrates it better than the one that was released by the government that we just saw, the cartoony looking one. This one actually kind of puts things in proportion and in order of rank. So yeah, if people would actually apply this and get the bulk of their nutrition from a carnivore centric diet, that's what I always talk about. That's at the top. And then sparingly plant matters, very sparingly any type of grain, and then hopefully almost never sweets and refined carbs. I think if most people actually applied this, yeah, they would experience health benefits from it. So of course, some individuals, they got to nix all this, and they got, they can only do carnivore. We know people like that, but I think if most people would apply this, I think they would see improvements in their health. I think the more you eat from the top and the less you eat from anything below the top, the better you're going to be health-wise. So
It'd be interesting to see what the macros of an applying this, how much it would reduce the carb level.
Well, you figure most
like,
of your carbs are on the bottom half of that inverted pyramid.
So it'd be very interesting if you followed this and you wound up at 100 grams of carb or less. That'd be a very healthy diet for most people.
It would be, and that would fall within the realm of Dr. Berry's proper human diet. In his proper human diet spectrum, he believes that humans are a low carbohydrate mammal that should be eating 100 grams or less from 0 to 100, and where you fit on that spectrum can vary per individual. Yeah. And I'm 100% on board with Dr. Berry's proper human diet. So some of these things, it's not that they can never be enjoyed. It's just how often should you enjoy something versus other things. Most people eat this upside down, for the last several decades. And most people are eating the refined carbs, the snacks, the prepackaged food, the sweets, then followed by the grains. And they're not eating, they've never been eating the amount of fruits and vegetables that is it the CDC? Is that what it is that they recommend? And then, of course, meat and saturated fat has been demonized, so most people have been eating from the bottom there where you see the cupcake and the milkshake. That's where most people have been eating. Or from the next level up is the Doritos and the chips and everything. So those are the things that are getting people sick, and they should minimize. So I do like this illustration. I do like the changes, but I think the more you live on the top of this, the better you're going to benefit from your eating habits. So, hello,
Well,
Kelly. How you doing?
Hey, Kelly.
You're muted.
I'm doing pretty good. How about y'all tonight?
All
Good.
right. Very, very good. What's new for you?
Well, at least I got my voice back. Last week I lost my voice. I don't know what happened. I wanted to come on live with you all, and then Tuesday with Russell, but unfortunately I lost my voice and there's no way I can be able to talk. So I'm grateful for that. And then tomorrow I get to see the orthopedic specialist about this hip and surgery and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Get that started.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, we're glad you could join us. What are your thoughts on this food pyramid?
Well, I'm just like everybody else. It is a start. I'm glad to see it because especially years even growing up in the same school my daughter went to, I went there, and I felt even though the food was probably, as Rick Mopar Charger says, duck food, it was, but it was more nutritious than what they have today. And it's sad to walk into the same school that I went to and used to see more of a nutritious breakfast of eggs and bacon and sausage with the maybe some cereal and stuff. But now you walk in, they have donuts, they have pancakes, it's all carbs. And so I'm hoping that this would, if people will listen, I'm hoping this will be a start. And I hope we see more bigger improvements on this food pyramid, and hopefully maybe there'll be more of the saturated fats, because I feel that, there's nothing wrong with the fruit oils, but also they can get rancid over time. And I feel that the saturated animal-based fats is the best way to go. We've been eating that since the beginning of time.
Yep. I'd like to have been a fly on the wall when RFK was trying to get this all hashed out with everybody, and get it all lined out, because it took a while. And of course, I'm sure he got a lot of flack on it, and he had to fight with him. But see, the thing is, he is basically a carnivore himself. If not a ketovore, he's at least a carnivore. I would feel like he probably really wanted to do it a lot different than how it came out. But his hands was tied, and he probably had to do a lot of negotiating just to get what he got.
I totally agree. I think he definitely want.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to gear towards the carnivore or the ancestral base, but when you have all the others in there and you have the food companies, so what do you do? You got to compensate for everything. But I'm glad that we got the healthier stuff on top now, instead of the sweets and the sugars and the grains that is harmful.
Yeah, I hope it'll last. I have my doubts, but hopefully I'm wrong.
All right.
What I think is,
go ahead, Paul.
This is a conversation starter. I think this is going to be the biggest value of this pyramid.
That's good,
because everybody's going to talk about it, but more. Let's just say you're newly diagnosed as a pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, okay? And the doctor says, well, I'm going to send you to a diabetes educator or nutritionist, okay? Certified diabetes educator. They're basically a nutritionist. And so if you just get this diagnosis, diabetes, you're kind of scared. You start looking around. You don't know much about it. And you start looking at the horrors of it. And so you are going to come across this pyramid. And you're probably going to take this in with you, when you go in to see this registered dietitian or educator, and you're saying, now they're going to have to turn around what they're doing, because this pyramid does not fit the American Diabetes Association Correct.
Yep. We just
Yep.
lost Paul.
And there he went. Yeah, I could tell he was on his way
Well,
out there.
I like what Paul had to say about this starting a conversation, because that's very true. This can and will start conversations, not just among the populace, but also among the nutritionists and the doctors and whatnot. And maybe it'll give more carnivores the guts when they go into their doctor to be honest with their doctor and be more willing to speak about how they're eating, because now they got a little something to help back them up. So, I think what Paul said about starting conversations was excellent. That was very good.
All right, very good. So let's go to some comments here. Jamet says, Bob, my sister, not good on BP, blood pressure, Lisinopril. She has a terrible dry cough. I'm lucky, no BP problem. Yeah, so now my blood pressure has to do with kidneys. So, when I did the carnivore diet, my blood pressure normalized, although I was still on my medications. And then when I was given that phenofibrate, that put me that damaged me and made my kidneys worse. And now my blood pressure's high. So I don't have what's called essential hypertension, which is diet related or insulin resistant related. I have what's called secondary hypertension, which is due to organ damage. So that's why we have a comment like Lambs here says, I cannot imagine contacting my doc for medicines ever again unless there's some urgency. And that's what I have, is an urgency. So I cannot let my blood pressure continue to be near hypertensive levels, hypertensive crisis levels, because that will continue to cause kidney damage. So the more my blood pressure remains high, the more I suffer kidney damage. So I got to get that under control. Yeah. Let's see here. DS111 says he only uses the top left corner of the no pyramid. Basically, me too. 97% of the time. Papa Carnivore says, I'm saving hundreds of dollars per month by not having to buy prescription meds, doctor copays, and out-of-pocket expenses, etc. Very nice. So, Jamet says, the pyramid my doctor had in his office was like my grandma's. Beef, potato, veggies. What is really different? Not much. If that's what your doctor had in his office, that's very similar to the pyramid right now. So eat real food. That's a no-brainer, So very good. And you said it was like my grandma's. So that's another thing we often hear. How many times do we hear eat like your grandma used to eat? Because what did she eat back then?
Whole
Real
foods.
food. Real food. Steak, potato, and people were fine and healthy back then eating that. So eat real food, eat like your grandma used to eat. Southford says, what was your original purpose in making this program? Was it due to health issues, or we just love steak and protein? So all the above, but yes, health issues is the primary driver. So if you go back to my early videos on my channel, I talk about my story. I yo-yo dieted all my life. But when I found the carnivore diet, I was able to lose 60 pounds, keep it off, and reverse ulcerative colitis, reverse my periodontal disease, reverse issues with like earwax, brain fog, sarcopenia, not sarcopenia, narcolepsy. That's what it was. That was me falling asleep behind the wheel in the middle of the day, and a whole host of other things. And so I became a believer, as you would say, and therefore a carnivore diet evangelist. And the people we have on the screen and in the chat, they've had very similar experiences. Most of them have been doing carnivore because it has immensely benefited their health, regardless if they had weight to lose or not. And many of them also have their own YouTube channels as well. It's because when you do something that is the opposite of what mainstream medicine has been telling you to do all your life, the old food pyramid, you do the opposite of what you were taught and you reap the benefits from it. That's like, it's a revelation. It's mind-blowing, and you can't help but to share that with others with some form of excitement. That's how this program started. So And so if you've got health issues of your own or weight to lose, we recommend a elimination diet, and we recommend that it's, very carnivore centric. And just like this new pyramid says, you try and hover around the top of that pyramid more than anywhere else on that ladder.
Yeah, most people come to this way of eating either to lose weight or to heal themselves. And a lot of us come to heal. If you see white hair, you see the older faces, it's usually because they came to heal. The younger ones, they come for the diet to lose weight. You've got a few, I've met a few that are strictly in it for the health benefits. There's nothing wrong with them. They're of a good weight. They're athletic, but they come to this because they feel like this gives them a healthier lifestyle than the way they were eating before.
All right. Very good. And and yeah, that's, couldn't say it better myself. So everyone, I don't know anybody in real life, that has tried the carnivore diet and had negative results, that didn't see some sort of improvement or anything. Sure, there's critics out there, but I've just never seen it. So everyone I know, seems to boast about it. And very good. Where are we at here? And interested to see how guidelines for food programs and institutions change. We'll watch it. I sense it will be sabotaged by interests at some level.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, obviously, because a political figure is connected to this, you've already got the opposition, making their reels and running their mouths and publishing their articles about how awful this is. And you're going to have that. So, yeah, will it shape future school programs like Jeff mentioned earlier? I hope so. So I hope people actually, I hope this takes root and actually sits and resonates with some people. Is it going to resonate with everybody? No. So
let's see how the hospitals start feeding their patients now.
You know what? I love it. I love it when someone brings up a hospital, because I started my carnivore diet in the hospital. I had the greatest hospital. When I broke my ankle, that's when I started my carnivore diet. They brought out this menu, and it was actually full of whole food, real food, whether you wanted, fruit, vegetables, salads, or if you wanted meat, steak, potatoes, it's not potatoes, steak, sausage, eggs, and bacon, So
That's very rare.
When I stayed 2 days in the hospital, yeah, they'd bring you a menu and say, what do you want? And I'm like, egg, sausage, and bacon. So, and they were happy to serve. So yeah, I did not, this experience of hospital food is terrible. I did not experience it when I was admitted for my issue. Now, when my kids were born and we were in those hospitals, yeah, you go down to the cafeteria and it was cookies and pudding and bags of chips and macaroni and slop, but the hospital that I was in had an excellent menu. So, all right. Papa Carnivore says, my grandmother lived to 103 and a half, and she ate eggs fried in butter most mornings. She ate lots of fatty meat with peeled cooked potatoes, onions, carrots, celery. Yeah, so
There you go.
all good food. So I'm not sure that some properly cooked, boiled, and prepared potatoes and veg is bad for us. It worked for my 103-year-old grandmother. And
everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah. So I am not anti-plant, but I am very pro meat, pro animal products. So, and, however, I know some individuals who, they eat plants and it messes them up. So they got to be 100% meat, and that's okay.
So genetics plays such a big part in all this stuff. On my maternal side, I had a grandfather that was slim as all get out, died in his 40s of a heart attack. And him and his wife, they always grew their own vegetables. They bought their meat at a butcher shop. Grandma lived to be I'm not sure. I think she passed in her 60s or 70s. I'm not sure. My mom lived to her mid 80s, but my dad died at 59. So, on that side, it's just all over the spectrum. Then I got my grandparents on my paternal side. Grandma and grandpa both lived in their late 90s, 99 and 98 respectively. And they ate what they got at the store. They had their orange juice, fresh squeezed every single morning. They ate plenty of fruits and vegetables. I don't think they ate a lot of junk, but they ate a standard American diet, and they lived in their 90s. So, I believe there's a lot to be said for the genetics.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
the other thing too is it's multiple. There's multiple factors, and you go back to the 70s and 60s, and even before that, we didn't eat all day long. It was breakfast, lunch, dinner, done. There was no late dessert snacks, popcorn, chips, all that. That didn't happen very much at all. And I can remember when I was growing up as a kid, I can remember certain parents telling their children that, well, it's after dinner, it's 8:00. Well, I'm hungry. Well, you didn't really eat all your dinner. Maybe tomorrow when it's dinner time, you'll concentrate on eating all your dinner and you won't be hungry at 8:00.
Oh, yeah.
Go to bed, And I was staying at a friend's house, and his mother told him that, and I okay, you're not going to feed the kid, but he didn't eat all his dinner, and whatever, and all this is starting conversations, and maybe this will awaken people to the health crisis that we have in this country. We have a serious, serious crisis. I mean, if diabetes was some kind of infectious disease, our public health system would be all over it. All over it. Every other person is either pre-diabetic, diabetic, type 2 diabetic, or undiagnosed. 1 out of 2. Every other person. That's the stats. Diabetes is now $1.6 billion a day. It's close. It's getting nearly $1 trillion a year. And we're amputating a leg every 3 minutes. Other amputations occur every 30 seconds. We're cutting them off like crazy. And this is going nowhere. It just gets worse. It creeps up a couple more percent. Now we're almost at 50%. Every other person is type 2 diabetic.
That's bad.
All right. Come join us on screen. Click the link that's pinned at the top and fire up your camera and device and talk to us face to face. We would love to have you. DS111 says, I prioritize bacon, steak, cheese, ground beef, eggs, butter, heavy cream, coffee, and Topo Chico. So excellent. I think you got your priorities.
That's my grocery list there.
That's a decent pyramid right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should come up with the carnivore food pyramid. All right. Very nice.
That's an idea.
Michelle, I think this is referring to Michelle Obama, at least tried to help kids. At my grandma's, we helped her grow veggies in her garden. So I will say that, most people's intentions, especially even in politics and leadership, most people's intentions are good, whether they mean well, whether they have the right education or not, that's a whole nother story. They might mean well and still cause harm, So yeah, I would agree with you there. She was trying to do the right thing, and with the whole, she's the one that came up with the My Plate, right? That I think so. So yeah.
Yeah, but the whole thing was what they were feeding them was nothing but junk. absolute junk. It was terrible. And they were starving them. And I saw numerous reports that if a child brought food from home and it didn't match their guidelines, it was taken away from the child and thrown out.
Oh, well, I have a problem with that.
All I can say is it's a good thing that didn't happen in my kids' schools. Because
I'd have to dig into that.
I'd have me a record.
Yeah, that's
I'd have been down there in a heartbeat. You toss out my food that I spent money on, you take food out of my child's hands, I'm going to take something from you.
Yeah.
Where my grandkids go to school, they have very strict guidelines which you can put in the kids' lunchbox.
Yeah, and that's bogus.
My daughter got.
Even if I feed my kid bad food, you don't tell me how to feed my children. You don't do it. You don't interfere. You don't get between me and my child. It don't happen. It ain't never going to happen. Boy, they ain't nothing going to make me matter.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that.
I didn't have to deal with it, so.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. So that's interesting. All right. Bill Cook says, my doctor told me low fat and low salt. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, they all say that.
You know, doctors are intelligent, but that doesn't mean they have any wisdom. And it doesn't mean they can't be ignorant in the ways of nutrition. We all know they get very little training in nutrition.
Or the training that they get says exactly that. Eat low fat, low salt. They're just repeating what they've learned.
And where did they learn that from?
Another white coat.
Mainly from big food pushing a narrative and big pharma pushing a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
A collaboration between the two. Keep them sick so we can keep them on medication.
Tom says, well, they have been conditioned to.
True, too.
Have been eating Fruit Loops, so to say, since infancy. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean, so I was born in 75, grew up in the 80s, and breakfast was Pop-Tarts, cereal, and then if you were hungry again, you added more. If you had milk left, you added more. Finish it up. The sweeter the cereal, the better.
Okay, I can remember my earliest memory. One of my earliest memories I've ever had in my life was crawling out of my crib. This was in Germany. So, and I was probably 3-4 years old, but I can remember this. Crawling out of my crib, going into the kitchen, and I'm always the first to get up in my family. And going into the kitchen, climbing up on the counters, and getting into the cabinets and fixing my own breakfast, and it would be cereal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's back in the late 50s. So, I mean, it goes back that far.
Mm-hmm.
I've been eating cereal. I grew up eating cereal for breakfast all the time, just nearly every day. Except on weekends, we'd eat, Dad fixed bacon and eggs or something. But cereal was what you ate, toast. That's what you ate during the week because it was quick, easy, so you could get off to school.
My breakfast would be cereal or Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, I had Pop-Tarts.
My mom would pack for my lunch. It'd be a granola bar, a fruit roll-up, and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I generally got a sandwich of some kind. Now, when I lived in Alaska, we lived close enough that I came home for lunch every day. We lived close enough to school that I could come home for lunch every day.
And then dinner was the only halfway normal meal. We'd actually have a meat and a veggie.
Right,
but my first 2 meals of the day were just absolute garbage. And
I will admit, my mother fed us good.
Mm-hmm.
We had always a main course of meat. There was always a starch, and there was always a vegetable. And there would probably be a dessert at the end, but still, when we talk about a whole food diet, that's how we ate for that one meal. Lunch and breakfast, not always so much, but for that one meal. And then you had your special treat night where you might have a pizza night or something, but for the most part, we really ate good. And I did eat a lot of meat back then. And my poor dachshund ate a lot of my vegetables under the table. Poor thing. I feel bad for what I did to that dog now. But hey, so all right, I think everybody's in pretty much agreement on this food pyramid and how it's going. If you don't mind, Bob, I'd like to bring up some things I'm curious about in my blood report.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm glad that Papa Carnivore is on here. I hope he's still on here because he might have some insight to this. So we talked about it a month or two ago about going high iodine, for certain conditions. And, on the recommendation of Thomas Seyfried. And Papa Carnivore gave us some guidelines on what he knew about it. And I looked him up, and he was correct about what Thomas Seyfried had said. So I started a high iodine regimen for an issue I have. Okay, so I have my blood test, and I will admit my doctor didn't bring up anything that was high. I love my new doctor so far. I was impressed that even though my cholesterol was as high under my old doctor as it was my new doctor, my old doctor would have been, first thing he'd have been on the phone, you got to get on a statin immediately. You are dangerously high. This doctor didn't even mention it. He could care less because he looked at the ratios. Okay. And we know the ratios is what it's all about. Your tries to your HDLs and all this. So he looked at the risk ratios and saw they were all below the max. So he didn't care that my cholesterol was high. And he didn't mention this. And I think it's because it wasn't terribly high, but I had never noticed this before. But my TSH, okay, and TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. All right, so the average range is 0.40 to 0.410, and I'm fully aware that's due to the last 1,000 people or so tested, through that lab. But I even looked that up on in Ken Berry's Common Sense Labs, and he's got the range at being 4.9, 4.09, I believe, is what I saw, because I do have his book, and I've been going through it. But anyhow, so mine was at 4.93, where the high range is 4.10. And so I did a little research on it, and I got on ChatGPT, and I asked, what could be causing this? And I gave it, my whole breakdown of my age, my weight, the whole 9 yards, and what I've been doing. And it's telling me that because I'm taking such a high dose of iodine, and I am taking, I put 4.8, I'm taking probably about 16 drops of Lugos 2% throughout the day. 4 drops in each mug of water, and these are about 20 ounces. And I'll do at least 4 of these a day. So that's quite a bit. And that was, I think, if I remember right, Thomas Seyfried's recommended dose for what I'm trying to deal with. And so anyways, it looks like my TSH is elevated. Now, according to ChatGPT, it's talking like, okay, what this is doing is shutting down my thyroid. My thyroid is because I'm adding an outside source of iodine, it could be that my thyroid is shutting off because it's like, hey, you don't need me. Go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. I'm just not going to operate for you anymore. And I was just wondering if anybody has any insight on thyroid stimulating hormone, on anything that Thomas Seyfried has said about this. And at some point, I'm going to try to get a hold of Thomas Seyfried and ask him about this. And should this be something that I need to concern myself with? Do I need to back off of the iodine? These are just questions I have. And I just wonder if anybody has any insight on this.
I mean, is it okay to ask why you went with the iodine, or is that? I'm not trying to pry.
Dr. Siegfried says everybody normally should take in a higher dose of iodine than they normally do. Okay. And yeah, I'm not real comfortable about talking the reason why, but for a certain condition, he recommends going with a very high dose as a treatment.
I knew a coach that was in Ken Berry's group. She was a certified coach, and she was not connected with Berry, but she was separate from that. And she had several health issues. I can't really remember them all, but she went with the same book, and she dramatically increased her iodine, and many of the things she was battling went away. And I think she was at 10 or 12 drops a day of the 2%. Yeah. I do 3 or 4 drops of the 2% every morning. And it's just kind of like an insurance policy. I don't know why I'm doing it. I just do it because I think I need it. I don't want to miss. What if that's the one thing that is stopping me from whatever? That's what I do. Every day. And
I'm not feeling any effects from it whatsoever. I don't feel any different than I did before. I feel just fine. One of the symptoms that you're having thyroid problems is being very sensitive to cold. But that doesn't apply to me because I was sensitive to cold when I was eating the SAD diet. So it don't matter. I'm just cold nature. I'm from South Texas, and I just do not like the cold. All right. Well, I'm shop right now. My shop is 60 degrees, and I've got 2 heaters on me right now.
Yeah, so I'm punching it into Grok here. It's based on some of the stuff that you've said. The 4.93, it says some labs say it should be between 0.4 and 4, or other labs 0.4 and 4.5. Some labs extend the upper limit to 5. And so 4.93 would be mildly elevated.
Yeah, and I think that's why my doc didn't even say nothing about it.
Yeah. And it also says that high TSH does not shut down the thyroid. It's the opposite. High TSH is the body's way of trying to stimulate a thyroid that isn't producing enough hormones. So,
and ChatGPT had even said that I could possibly have a thyroid that isn't working properly to begin with, even before I started doing this.
Yeah.
And, it throws out every possibility. You can't really go by it.
Yeah. When people with low or borderline iodine begin supplementation, TSH often rises temporarily in the early weeks. This occurs as the thyroid adapts. Let's see.
Thyroid can be a very, very tricky thing.
Yeah.
Rocking Coach Amy just got her lab test, and she's been prescribed medication for her thyroid.
See,
she's not taking it.
Now, they didn't do a specific thyroid test on me. It's just the other than the TSH, and the normal things that they do with the blood test, and really everything else is perfectly normal that's going on my blood test.
How many drops per water do you take?
4 drops per water. I drink at least 4 of these a day. So I was getting upwards of 16 drops a day.
Yeah. So if your slight elevation is a concern, then you could try just take a drop out and do it 3 drops per water.
Yeah.
Or 2 drops per water. That way you're still getting the iodine supplementation.
Well, that's one of the things I'm curious about. Is it something to be concerned about? Do I need to back off?
I don't think so.
Probably not right. Probably not yet. I think it's too early to
I'm
tell.
going to try to find a way to get a hold of Thomas Seyfried and talk to him about it, email him or whatever. If anybody has his email or a way to contact him, I'd appreciate it if y'all drop it in the comments, or come online and tell me about it, because I'd really like to, he's the one that's starting this, so he's the expert on it. I'd like to talk to him about it. And I've got another something I'd like to bring up, people's advice. This will go in a different direction. This goes more with the liver, not mine. A very good friend of mine has come to me and asked my advice, and I can't help him a whole lot because it's getting into an area I don't know much about. So they've been having some issues. They've decided to go carnivore, and so they've been very meat centric. I don't think 100% carnivore for a month or two, and they've been having some issues, some pain that's been wandering around. They're looking, what do I say? They felt like it was in their gut. So they went and had some blood tests and whatnot. And so they contacted me today, sent me an email and said, what do I know about, or how was your blood test on your T-bill, AST, ALT, ALP? And I think he was saying that his T-bill was elevated, or maybe his AST was elevated, and AST, ALT, and ALP was low. I didn't even know what these were.
These are liver markers.
Yeah, they're liver markers.
Yeah.
But one was elevated, the rest were normal. But what he's been dealing with is very greasy stools, not diarrhea, but mucousy stools. And he's asked me about it, and I'm like, I don't really know. Now, he had a CAT scan and ultrasound done, showed that his that it looks like he's got an enlarged liver and a enlarged spleen, and he's got some lymph nodes that are enlarged, and it's looking like he may have some fatty liver. And the only thing I could really address was the fatty liver, and just guide him towards Dr. Berry and what he says, that fatty liver is totally curable, through eating carnivore. So his specialist that he's been talking to, who is 100% on board with carnivore, has no issues whatsoever with carnivore, did say, though, that because of his stools and what he's going through right now with his liver, that maybe he ought to eat some fiber, some leafy greens, which I told him, I says, I don't see how that could do anything other than maybe in the colon, but it's not, I don't see where it'll help the liver much or anything, because you don't process those through the liver. But I also said, I don't disagree with that advice, because there's nothing wrong with easing into carnivore, because your liver may not be, you're not fat adapted yet. Your liver may not be adapting quick enough to this. You may need to ease into it, and your gut microbiome maybe needs to ease into it. So I don't have an issue with what his specialist was saying. But as far as the mucousy type stools and whatnot, advice, any experience with that? What have y'all dealt with?
Well, the only time I've ever had mucus in the stool, and I mean, it would be like, I would have some substances come out that looked like snot or phlegm,
And that's what I'm assuming he's talking about.
But that was when I was having major ulcerative colitis. So I said I would go to the bathroom like 25 times a day. Sometimes I would have this incredible urge. I got to go to the bathroom right now, or I'm going to mess my pants. It's going to be the end of my day. And then I'd go to the bathroom, but I had already gone to the bathroom 10 times in the last 2 hours, and it would just be mucus, causing that sensation.
What other symptoms did you have with ulcerative colitis?
So ulcerative colitis, so sometimes it'd be stomach pain or stomach cramping, but mostly it was just instant diarrhea. And it was when I was on no medication yet, and it was bad. It would be, I could drink a cup of coffee and I got to go to the bathroom, or if I would eat a meal, I had to go to the bathroom. It was as if whatever I put in my mouth was going right through me. And I know that wasn't the case, but I always felt like if I ate something, it was pushing something out,
Right.
and then the human body shouldn't work like that, actually. Because now I can eat meal after meal after meal and only go every other day or every 3 days or something now that I'm cured. But
Well, he's also going to be, they've ordered the test for him. He's going to go through some, what is it? What was it he was telling me? He's going to be going through some, I guess, bacterial tests, see if there's something going on, bacterial infections, gut biome infections, something out of whack down there.
that could be,
He's going to be running through some tests on that, and they're going to send him to a gastroenterologist. And
yeah,
he may go ahead and
there
get
could be an
scoped out.
overgrowth. There could be an overgrowth of a certain bacteria that's not being kept in check anymore.
Yeah, and they're even going to check for parasites.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd say
Gastroenterologist
gastroenterologist is the way to go. What's that, Paul?
He locked up again.
All right. Yep. Yeah, you're frozen, Paul. We're gonna give you some time to thaw out. All right. Let's see here. I'd say gastroenterologist is the way to go to wrap that up. So I can't think of any reason why the diet would cause it, or a change in diet. I do agree that not everybody has to be carnivore. That's why the new food pyramid isn't necessarily all bad, and I also don't believe that like the keto flu has to be a thing. Yeah, you can start animal based and then keto and then ketovore, and you can work your way to being as carnivore centric as possible, hovering around the top of that pyramid. But not everybody has to commit to a lifetime of 100% carnivore. So,
No, not everybody needs to jump in like we did.
Right.
I mean, I did it just because that's my style. Jump in with both feet, rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. I think some people will do better to transition in slowly, and that may be what's going on with him. He started the carnivore because he was already feeling some stuff. He was already having some issues, and so he started carnivore because of those issues, and he feels better. He's lost some weight, but he's still having some issues. So I think the mucousy, greasy stools came after carnivore, but that's why I think maybe he's better off easing into it, or maybe carnivore did exasperate something in his gut biome. I told him to have his wife look into some L-Reuteride yogurt, about making some of that, and see if that doesn't help with the gut biome, and sauerkraut. He said he loves sauerkraut, so I said try some sauerkraut, see if that doesn't help out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but and one thing he said that set this off was he ate a jalapeno popper, and it was in that jalapeno they hadn't cleaned the membrane out or something. And he's not a hot eater. He's not a heat eater like me. I mean, Carolina Reapers are, grapes to me. And he took one bite of that and it lit him up, and he tossed the rest of it and couldn't eat it. And ever since then, that really tore into his gut. He's been having issues ever since.
Okay, you know what? That's actually pretty revealing. He might have a gastric ulcer. So,
and he's being treated for that. He's on medication for that right now.
Yeah. So like I remember, so my daughter, she started to get into hot and spicy stuff, and she and I was really into it too. We'd often like challenge our friends to go down to a wing place and see how high up the ladder you could go with the hot sauce, And so she participated in a challenge where we had the hottest of the hot. These wings came out, you ate these things and you were dying for water, your lips were on fire, it still was burning you an hour and a half later. And after that meal where she participated in that challenge, she started to have stomach issues. Her stomach was bothering her, painful and everything, and she ended up going to the doctor, and they diagnosed her with a gastric ulcer and had to give her some medication temporarily, and then after that she was like, I'm done with these hot sauce challenges. She didn't want to do it again. So when you mentioned the jalapeno pepper, which I would imagine is, I wouldn't think it'd be strong enough to cause a gastric ulcer, but again, everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody's different. See, he's never been able to eat hot foods.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm nuts for what I can do, what I do. Now, usually jalapeno poppers, just bread wrapped in bacon and filled with cheese of some kind.
Cream cheese, yeah.
They're generally pretty mild if you get the membrane and all the seeds out. But apparently he had one that they didn't get them all out, and this one just flat lit him up.
Yeah, so maybe if that prescription's new, maybe as he completes that prescription for the gastric ulcer, maybe he'll see some relief.
And I didn't think about it, but it could be his prescription that's causing that too.
That could be, yeah. So,
medications can do that stuff to you.
Go back to our comments for a bit. I've got 22 pinned and 15 that I have yet to read. So we got how is an apple above a shrimp? This is going back to the chart.
It's not.
It's not. Like I said, the illustration is kind of wonky, It's got like real food and the meat in the top left corner, but then they got the vegetables. It looks like it's on equal footing. Like I said, I just don't like the illustration.
No, I had a New York strip and ate shrimp for my meal today. So,
all right,
shrimp's well above an apple.
The new food pyramid will work for healthy people. Us carnivores usually have a lot of damage and will need a bit stricter diet to heal first. You know what? That is a beautiful comment. That is spot on. I agree a whole lot. Yeah, we're those of us doing carnivore, we came into this very unhealthy and with a lot of repair to do. And so the stricter we are, the better we can repair, faster we can repair. Spot on, lambs. I love that comment. Rockin' Coach Amy is 33 hours into a 44-hour fast. You did this last Monday too, didn't you? So very good. Excellent.
Keep up the good work, Amy.
Yep, good job. Bill Cook says, I think Dr. Baker was part of the process, if I remember. He may have been. I don't know all of them, but I just a couple names stood out. I actually saw a reel with Ben Bickman saying that he was part of it. So if you promote any website, promote American Diabetes Society.
Correct.
And this is accurate. Do not go to the American Diabetes Association. Those are the bad guys.
Yeah, I believe Tony Hampton's a part of that, as well as Barry. They helped start all that.
Yep, Barry and Hampton and a couple others there. It's all a joint venture with them. So yeah, the American Diabetes Society is where you're going to find reliable information, not the ADA. All right. Some people turn to carnivore when they got a health problem. Sad truth. Right. Yeah. Some people, they got a, they don't want to do it until it's like, okay, I'm desperate. I got to try something. So, and that's kind of where I was, like I was like, I got so bad. I got to do something extreme. And now I don't even see it as extreme. At the time I was like, that carnivore diet, that's extreme. Now I'm just like, it's not extreme. It makes perfect sense. A joke. Why not have an Ozempic pill pyramid? So I've been seeing a lot of alarming articles about GLP-1s lately.
Hey, have you seen the lawsuits that came out on them?
I have not.
Yes. I don't remember now where I saw it. It was on a YouTube video somewhere, one of the carnivores. Mm-hmm. They apparently there's some lawsuits going on because some people are getting some serious damage, permanent damage, which we warned about this. It's been well known that you have the possibility of permanently paralyzing your stomach from this, because that's what this stuff does, is it paralyzes your stomach. And some people, they're not recovering from it. And it's just about killed a few people. Yeah, this is not good stuff.
There are ongoing GLP-1 lawsuits involving nearly 3,000 cases across
Yep.
federal courts.
Yep. There you
The,
go.
the lawsuits claim that manufacturers, including Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, failed to adequately warn patients about serious health complications such as gastroparesis, that must be the paralyzing,
Yes.
intestinal blockages, and sudden blindness. Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Woo.
Yeah, there's been a host of problems that people have been having. And, you know, we as amateur nutritionists and carnivores, we warn people about this. Don't take this stuff. I mean, my gosh, it's just poison. And literally, that's what it is. It's poison. It comes, my understanding is it's derived from the poison of the Gila monster.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because obviously I've never had to look into it. I did see Dr. Siwis. He's kind of likes using it. Dr. Berry said that in some extreme circumstances he would use it, but his encouragement would be to get on a carnivore diet as fast as you can and then get off of it. So
now, years ago, I mean, well over a decade, maybe even longer than that, I'm not sure. My doctor was wanting me to lose some weight. And I was 236 pounds, and my cholesterol was up there. Of course, he put me on a statin, and yes, I took it. I was ignorant, didn't know no different back then. And he was bothered that I wasn't doing anything to lose weight. And I said, well, doc, I keep trying. I don't get nothing done. And I kept thinking I'm going to get back on Atkins. And I just couldn't get back on Atkins. I was weak, you know, I was enjoying my junk too much. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, they've got this new medication out. And he says, it'll actually help you. It's a diabetic medication, but they're finding out that people are losing weight taking this. And if you'd be willing to take it, he said, I'll prescribe it for you, you know, and it will really help you. And I said, sure, I'll try anything. And he said, now it's going to require that you give yourself a shot. And I said, I don't know if I can do that. He says, you can do it. I can train you to do it. And I said, well, it makes me kind of nervous. I don't like needles. And well, it turned out, and I was going to go for it. I said, sure, let's do it. I was going to go for it, but my insurance wouldn't approve it because I wasn't a diabetic. And so back then they weren't allowing you to take it just as a weight loss drug. So apparently something changed in that, obviously. So I came real close to getting on that stuff myself. Real close.
all right. And it turns out you didn't need it after all. All you needed
No,
was
all I needed was the motivation. I just needed to have a heart almost quit on me to motivate me to start eating right. That's all I needed.
all right.
You know, 4 trips to the ER and time spent in the ICU to wake my dumb butt up.
Well, at least you woke up. At least you didn't go to the ICU and fail to wake up. All right. The new pyramid can't compete with all the 7-Elevens.
True.
That is
I
true.
agree.
Yeah.
Don't forget
All
your
right.
big gulp. Just kidding.
Holly Springer says, good evening. I had a bad experience with hospital food. As a newly diagnosed type 2, after my back surgery, the hospital would put chocolate cake on my tray. Yeah. How? Yeah, that is a
That
bad
just blows
experience.
my mind.
Stupid. It's a type 2 diabetic, and they want you to eat chocolate cake. It's ridiculous. They didn't want you to wake up and leave either, apparently. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Did you ask them why they was trying to kill you? That would have been my response. Why are you trying to kill me?
And that's why you don't go to the ADA, the American Diabetes Association's website, because they will
Right.
have all kinds of recipes for sugary sweet desserts for diabetics. There's no such thing.
Right.
Diabetics need to stay away from sugary sweet desserts. So, all right. Jamette says, I believe we're all in God's hands when we leave, but while here, good to feel healthy. Yeah, you know, me and Jeff were having a discussion after the live last week, and I made the comment that, you know, some people believe that when it's your time, it's your time. But if you eat a poor diet, you might go before your time, you know? so if you do you want to go check in early, you know, then eat garbage food. You want to go when it's time, then eat healthy. Eat the way that God intended you to eat.
Hey.
Eat the foods that God provided for you to eat. Eat real food.
You could look at the SAD diet as a form of slow suicide.
Yeah. Absolutely. So eating all that processed food is the real heart attack diet. All right. Let's see here. Oh, send that. I already read that one. Nowadays in high schools, kids get food delivered from seed oil restaurants.
Really?
Is that true? Can you actually DoorDash food to the high school? I would think that'd be a security issue.
Well, I don't know about the small town I'm from. I don't know about the next town, Moberly, Missouri, but I work in Columbia, Missouri, where University of Missouri is located, and they have a high school right next to McDonald's, Taco Bell, Subway, Burger King, and Popeyes, and that's where a lot of the kids will go for lunch.
Wow. Now, see,
wow.
we couldn't leave campus. We couldn't go out to lunch until we were seniors. And once we were seniors, we were given that privilege. We could leave campus for lunch. Of course, everybody would go to the Dairy Queen, you know, or McDonald's.
Yeah, I couldn't. I think maybe when I was a senior, I could leave. I don't even know. I don't think I was allowed to leave. I don't think I ever was. So, but I mean, with security now, like every school is locked. There's like usually a cop on duty, you know, and I think it would just cause too much commotion if there's a bunch of DoorDash drivers trying to bring food to the high school.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So but I mean, that could be. I mean, you know, DS-111 here. You could be telling it like it is. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm just kind of blown away by the thought. Booby Goats. Aaron says, I've just finished my 24-hour fast, chowing down on New York strip and some burger patties. Awesome. Sounds delicious. New York strip is my favorite cut. Bill Cook's trying to calculate my age. Bob is 50, give or take. Yes, I am 50 on the dot. So, yeehaw. I just turned 50 a month or 2 months ago. Uncle Charlie is having a pound of grass-fed beef, 6 egg yolks, and 3 whole eggs, 1 meal a day.
Cool.
Awesome, Uncle Charlie. Glad to see you back. And then Jamette says, same here. My mom, easier lunch, better, as she and my dad worked. But night dinner, we had some crazy food called shepherd's pie, hamburger, corn, and potato. Yeah. That's I'll tell you what, my school lunch, just as a reference, talked about earlier. My breakfast was garbage. My mom would pack garbage in my lunch. You know, peanut butter and jelly, granola bar, oatmeal cream pie. I left that out. And a fruit roll up. And then sometimes there'd be a box of raisins in there since that was healthy, you know. And I got so sick of eating that thing every day that I would trade with other kids in my school. So I'd be in elementary school, 5th, 6th grade. We'd sit down for lunch and I would be like, dude, I'll give you my fruit roll up for those carrots or that celery. And of course the other students are like, heck yeah, you know, and they'd gladly switch. They didn't want those vegetables, but I wanted them because I couldn't stand the sugary sweets anymore. And I'd trade someone, I'll give you my peanut butter and jelly in exchange for your ham sandwich that's got some lettuce and tomato on it. And I remember getting to the point where I begged my dad, if I got up early enough before he left for work, I'd see him packing his lunch and I would be like, please make me a sandwich too. If I have another peanut butter and jelly, I'm going to die. So he'd pack me a lunch. So hopefully they're not watching right now as I spill the beans on them.
Did you ever eat deviled ham?
Deviled ham? Describe it.
Underwood deviled ham. It came in a small tin, like a tuna fish can, and you opened it up, and it had chopped up ham and some kind of, I don't know what it was. I can't even begin to describe it. I just remember when I'd come home for lunch, sometimes mom would be gone and I'd have to go to my next door neighbors for lunch, which of course that was all arranged. And every single, I hated going over there for lunch because she'd always fix deviled ham sandwiches. And those things were so stinking nasty, I couldn't stand them. They were horrible. Some kind of processed ham in a can. It was a ham spread for sandwich making. It was just nasty.
Okay, yeah, I don't think so. I haven't had
Yeah,
ham in a can
I remember
outside of Spam.
it was made by Underwood. And it was a ham spread. I don't know what all was in it, but it was nasty.
All right.
I think I remember seeing that before, but never tried it. Now I don't want to.
So I'm going to run to the restroom, but how about we continue this? Just an idea. You guys can talk about whatever you want, but how about some unique foods that you ate in decades past that nobody eats today anymore?
Oh
my gosh. I'll bet there's some stuff people have never even heard of. Back in my day, the big deal was, especially for us kids, was the going to the moon, outer space travel, astronauts, because that was all new and fresh to us. I watched the lunar landing, on TV and everything. I remember that night. And I remember the foods that were coming out from supposedly the space program, or so we thought. And so we were getting packaged food that resembled what the astronauts were eating. And I'm sure it was so stinking highly processed, it was horrible. And I remember this like candy bar that was supposed to be some nutritious thing, kind of like what we might consider a power bar today, that it was almost like a Tootsie Roll, and it tasted sweet, and they had different flavors. But it was just candy is all it was. There was no nutrition in it whatsoever. I wish I could remember the name of those things. And of course, Tang itself, it came from.
I remember Tang in the 80s. Yeah. I'd go to my grandparents and have Tang.
Yeah, we had that back in the 60s and early 70s. Yeah, those were
and Kool-Aid.
Yep, that's some forgotten stuff we don't see much anymore.
I can't remember. There was something that I used to eat that they don't have anymore. I can't even remember, but I remember eating it. It was weird and it was good at the time, but as of today, I wouldn't even dare. Like, my palate has changed in the year and a half since I've been on Carnivore. I used to do time to time have sweetener and took pork rinds and cream. I don't even have the desire to even have hardly any sweets anymore.
No. Same. Now, Rick just brought up on the chat Ovaltine.
I remember Ovaltine.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, it's still around. When my father-in-law was on his final days, his final months, several months, he couldn't hardly eat anything. And so the main thing he wanted was Ovaltine. Every day he wanted Ovaltine, because what did they always tell us? That was complete nutrition. Chocolate milk, complete nutrition in Ovaltine. And so all these years, he still believed that. And my gosh, I looked at the ingredients on that and I'm like, oh, this is just horrible. It was just pure.
I remember when I was a younger teenager, I remember Carnation instant breakfast. I think it was similar to Ovaltine, but I used to do that. Milk and that was all I had for breakfast.
Slim Fast.
Yeah, I remember that. My mom did the Slim Fast.
Yeah, every girl in America did Slim Fast. Yeah,
and then you had I remember Tommy Lasorda, the LA Dodgers manager back in the day. He had a commercial where he did Slim Fast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So one of that came to my mind was tuna casserole. So I used to have my My mom would make tuna casserole. Grandparents would
Potato
make
chips
tuna
on
casserole.
top, crunched
Yeah.
up potato chips on top. You bet.
Yep.
Mom did
And,
that, and I hated it. I couldn't stand it.
I don't think I haven't heard anybody making a tuna casserole in decades. So that's one that comes to my
I remember
mind.
Rick said something about Jello salad. I'm
Yeah.
that stuff was popular back in there.
I remember
Mom
that.
makes it every now and then for dinners, which
Every potluck you went to, there'd be 3 or 4 Jello salads. Hated them too.
I know
Yeah.
one salad that I remember going to family dinners, and I think one of my aunts made it. Pea salad with has
Oh, that
peas
was-
and mayo
yes.
and cheese.
I
That
remember
stuff was
that.
disgusting.
Yes, it was.
It's been it was another one that's uncommon because we still make it. My wife and I make it. We actually make a Mexican one that's really good. Is a meatloaf. So meatloaf used to be something that you go out to eat at a restaurant, and that might be one of your top choices. But now I don't see meatloaf on any menu anymore. And when I go out, and most
Well,
people I know don't make it.
You come down to Texas, you'll find meatloaf.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, you get it. You get into your country cafes, you can find meatloaf on some of the menus, and I make meatloaf. I make a. It's not 100% carnivore, but I make a Mexican meatloaf myself, and the difference with mine, I don't use tomato sauce. I'll use picante sauce
Mm-hmm.
in it, and I lattice wrap it in bacon, and I smoke it on my smoker. And I'll put some pepper jack cheese in it. Shred up some pepper jack cheese and put in the mixture. Like I said, I lattice wrap it in thick bacon and then smoke it on my smoker. And it's just about a staple around here. My wife, first time I made it, after that, my wife said, "Yeah, you need to make this every week."
All right, very good. Going back to the iodine discussion here, Uncle Charlie says Dr. Barry said 2 drops. So again, I do agree. You could always scale it back a little bit. You're getting more than you were, you know.
And I watched that. I watched that particular video, and he was talking for just a daily regimen for just natural health that we don't get, especially for those of us that don't eat a lot of fish, and I don't. He was talking about, just as a daily regimen. I'm actually treating something. I'm treating a condition that I have. And so that's why the extra amount that I'm doing. And that's why I was just wondering if I haven't seen Pop Carnivore on here for a little bit, so I don't guess he's on here anymore. But, we talked about that, a month or 2 ago about going high dose. And I was just wondering if he had any more insight on it.
All right. Yeah. Well, then, keep it up and test again. What, in 3 months?
Yeah.
Check those TSH levels again, and just be on the watch for any funny symptoms or something. We have to want to maybe read up on what those might be, so you can be alert to what to look for. But, right now, I don't think your levels are too much of an issue at all. So they're just slightly elevated. Jamette says that she worries about too much omega-3 or mercury in fish, or it's a question mark. So mercury depends. The bigger fish, if you eat a lot of it, if you just eat fish once in a while, it's probably a non-issue. Smaller fish, you're going to be safer, like sardines. And omega-3, I wouldn't even worry about that. I think you can overdose on omega-3 all you want. So I take an omega-3 supplement for my high triglycerides, Vasipa, which is purified, concentrated EPA, and I take 1 gram a day. So
Nick Norris had a video today on that.
oh yeah,
Look it up.
Okay, all
Check
right,
it out.
good. Jamette also says maybe talk to Dr. Nelson in Kiltz's group to get his opinion on the iodine. It could be a good suggestion. Frank Calabrese says, Bob, I wouldn't be surprised that the endocrinologist tomorrow will tell you that carnivore is putting too much strain on your kidneys, causing complex hormonal issues, which raises BP. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised that he tells me all kinds of things. Problem with that is before my PCP damaged my kidneys with the fenofibrate prescription. When the first year I did carnivore, I was showing improvements in kidney function, and my blood pressure came down to normal. And so that was my first year on carnivore. My second year on carnivore, I actually stopped testing because I thought I was so happy to see improvements every time I tested that I'm like, well, I'm not gonna. I had felt no urgency to test anymore. My fear had been taken away. And then a year later, I took a test and realized that I was in a super bad shape. Things took a turn for the worse. And then I found out it was that fenofibrate it put me on, and I have yet to recover. So I've recovered some, but I haven't recovered back to where I was 2 years ago at the end of my first year of carnivore. So yeah, the endocrinologist is going to probably say all kinds of stuff, like carnivore diet's killing me, my LDL's high. I'm preparing for all kinds of lip tomorrow. So we'll see. I have zero concern about my LDL. So I do have concern for my kidneys and and therefore I have concern for the blood pressure. He says, find a good carnivore doctor. I'm on the look for one now, because my doctor, he's left that practice. So it was kind of interesting because he used to own it, and he sold it in 2022, and part of his contract said he'd stay on for 3 years. It was bought by Unity Health Network, and I absolutely can't stand them. Ever since the switch, it's been terrible. And so his 3 years is up. So he's leaving to go into a specialized field, continue as a doctor over in another city, but not as a family practice medicine, as a specialist. And so I have to find a new doctor. I could stay with the practice and they would have just moved me to the other doctor there, but I wanted to take this opportunity to get away from Unity Health Network. So I'm going to find a doctor, and I think I'm going to go for a DO, just like Jeff had done. So, all right.
That's about the best choice we got when we can't find a carnivore doctor. I wish I could find one, but when I hit all the searches for them, I don't find none in my area.
Yeah. So, and because the philosophy for the DOs is they're more, instead of, they can write prescriptions, but they think of that as a last resort, not the first line of defense. Like an MD. MD is like, I got a pill for you. A DO will try and get you to figure out how to heal your body naturally, make changes so it can heal itself.
Yeah, supposedly they try to look at the root cause and not just the symptoms.
Yeah. Rick Charger Mopar says, I just had an interesting discussion about the new food triangle with my friends. Well, hop on the screen and
tell us all about it.
And for anybody else who wants to join us, I'm going to post that link right now. Click that StreamYard link and you can join us on screen here. Talk to us face to face. We would love to have you. Retired Rick says, I was on Ozempic 2.5 years and got so bad, couldn't hardly move. Body ached all over, felt bloated and tired all the time. Quit that crap cold turkey and feeling way better now doing carnivore. So,
good deal.
All right. Very good.
Glad there's no lasting effects from it.
Yeah, okay. Oh my gosh. And in the unread section, there's 90 comments. All right. Okay, so we've exhausted our topic. Does anybody have any questions? If so, put them over there in the chat. There it is. I found my way back up. And I will start browsing through the comments here. And here's one. So, Bob, we have to remember God broke bread. Well, Jesus did. I don't eat bread. We are here I think, to help others like our carnivore community does. Well, yes, that, you want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Good principle there. In Acts, it says of Jesus, Jesus said there is more happiness in giving than there is receiving. Yep. Or how about the face of, like iron sharpens iron, the face of one man sharpens another. So yeah, we should all let us work what is good towards all. There you go. So yeah, all those in there are good. So yeah, I think there's another passage that says that if you have the ability, if you have the means of helping someone else and yet you hold back, it is a sin for you. So what are we supposed to do? Just like you said, we are to help others, where we can, whether that's through advice, education, if you have the means materially, financially, so very good. Here's a good comment here. I think the bread Jesus broke, was not processed. That would be true. Back then it was just water. It was unleavened bread. So it was just literally water, flour, and salt, I think.
Yep.
So they didn't even put
totally different grains back then.
They didn't even put yeast in
And
it.
different process.
Yep.
Tired Rick says, "Why is
what
all
we have today is not what God gave us in the past?"
Right? Yeah. You won't find Wonder Bread in Bible times. So probably the best bread they say is like the Ezekiel bread, but I don't even think you'll find that in Bible times either. But probably the closest you can get. But like the unleavened bread, what do they call them? Is it matzah? You can buy them at the store. So when they do the breaking the bread and the wine, they get wine that's just hasn't been chemically adulterated. It's got to be pure. And then the same thing, the bread's got to be literally just flour, water, salt, and I think the matzah crackers fit that criteria. If you don't want to make your own,
got to have them for Passover.
Rick says, "Why is all the good tasting food bad?"
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, the steak's good tasting. Cheese is good tasting.
My steaks taste great.
Yeah.
So does my barbecue, my brisket, my ribs.
Yeah.
Great food.
Taste good. But bad food is designed to be hyper palatable by food engineers. So
addictive.
Yep. So these food companies, when they're coming up with a new product, like if you want to come up with a new processed chip or candy bar, or if you want to, or a cola, and if you want to sell it as if it were quote unquote healthy, then you're going to call that cola a energy drink, and you're going to call that candy bar a protein bar. Then you hire these food engineers to make it as extremely yummy beyond belief and addictive, so that way you keep selling them again and again and again. So it's by design.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm just glad that the good food doesn't taste bad.
Right. Yeah. So there's that's what happens with the ultra processed food. It tastes good. I mean, hey, Doritos, they're tasty. Sugary sweetened beverages, cocktails, alcoholic drinks, they're tasty.
Ice cream, yeah.
Ice cream is tasty.
All good stuff. All tasty stuff.
I could put away a pizza with ease. It's tasty. So, yeah. I mean, do I miss the taste of certain foods? The freedom that I used to have when I could eat anything I want? Yeah, to a degree. But I don't see it as food anymore, and so I don't want to put it in my body. But yeah, it was tasty. So
don't even have a desire for it.
I would agree with that. I don't have a desire for it, but
yeah.
It was tasty. It really was. I went back when I used to eat it. Get rid of those taste buds.
Retired
Rick, and everything carnivore tastes way better. Yes, that's true too. So
very true.
After being a long time carnivore, if I have something off plan that's processed, which is like super rare, it actually doesn't taste good. It tastes like chemical. I'll tell you know what, for years, I continued to drink diet soda. I got off the Diet Coke because of the phosphorus in my kidneys, and I substituted it with a Diet Mountain Dew. And for the last like 6-7 months, I was a Diet Mountain Dew addict, chugging 60 some ounces of that stuff a day. I've been quit now for a month. No soda pop, no diet soda pop of any kind for the last month. And I had a sip of something at a restaurant. They didn't have any iced tea, so I was like, well, let me try this sip of Diet Coke I hadn't had forever. Tastes like chemicals. It was nasty. I drank that stuff for decades and used to cherish it, used to love it. And now now that I've been off of it for so long, I had a sip. I'm like, oh God, I couldn't. There's just no way I couldn't. So yeah, you do lose your taste for all that fake stuff when you concentrate on eating the good stuff. So stay away from it and you'll lose your taste for it. So just like a lot of tastes are acquired tastes, you can lose the taste too. It works the opposite way. And Amy's on board. Ribeyes, hamburger, eggs, butter, pork belly, bacon, brisket, ribs, all yummy. So I agree. Delicious. I loaded a question. What was that? Oh, things that we didn't eat anymore. Tang. Okay. Yeah, I remember Tang. Raspberry zingers. Well, I used to work at a gas station, and I would eat the zingers and those fruit-filled Hostess pies or something.
Old Dolly Madison.
Dolly Madison. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
I gotta admit, as much as I like sweets and everything, I never could stand those artificial cakes. You know, Dolly Madison and
ho-hos and ding dongs, and
I couldn't stand them. I hated them. I never did like them because they just tasted fake to me.
Twinkies.
The only thing I liked from any of that type of stuff was the Nutty Butter bars.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the only thing I ate, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have. I remember get one. That's all I'm gonna have is one. I'll save the others later. By an hour, I had the whole box ate.
Yeah, I love them. Oh, that was some good poison.
Oh, foods that we didn't used to eat, but not now. We had Ovaltine, Jello salad. Isn't Tang a dirty word now? Not that I'm aware of. Wake Up Gay with Ovaltine was an ad they had. That must be going way back.
I'd have liked to seen that one to show to my father-in-law before he passed. He would have got a kick out of that.
Oh, cream soda. Cream soda is disgusting. I can't stand cream soda, and I can't stand anything that's like, orange cream or orange vanilla. Oh. So I bought these, like 30 packs of Polar from the warehouse club. And this last one I got had unique flavors in it. And 6 of the cans are orange creamsicle. Disgusting. I've always hated that. Holly Springer. My dad grew up during the Depression. He talked about eating eggs scrambled with pig brains.
Yep.
He and
My
some
grandpa,
friends after retiring, would go out once a month to get brains and eggs.
Yep.
My grandpa called organs the sweet meat. He'd always eat the pig brains or the cow brains or the deer brains. He loved brains.
Yeah, I shared a deer camp with some old boys one time. This old boy cooked up. We'd been out hunting, and this guy, he cooked up a bunch of squirrel, and he breaded them, fried them, and then made a gravy and put them in the gravy and just simmered them in the gravy. It was excellent stuff. And you come in from hunting and you scoop up a big ladle of rice, and you pour the gravy over it and a couple of squirrel quarters. And I'm sitting there ladling mine up, and I pull up a head, teeth and all, just staring at me, and of course, it's skinned out. And I went, okay, what's the joke? And the old boy that cooked it up, he says, "You don't like the head?" I says, "No, I'll eat everything else, but I don't eat the heads." He says, "Good, that's more for me then." And so the next morning for breakfast, he's got these skulls lined up, and every one of them he takes, and he's got his scrambled eggs. He cooked breakfast for everybody, but he takes his eggs and he took a spoon and he busts them skulls open and scraped them brains out. And he took about 5 squirrel brains and stirred them up in his eggs. That's the first time I'd ever seen that. And I believe brains is the only organ I'm not willing to try. I just haven't gotten that hungry yet. And I've been hungry. I have starved before, and I still don't want to try brains. And this is coming from a guy that eats calf testicles. So, I still ain't touching brains.
Yeah, I would have never considered eating brains. Didn't even think it was serious. I think I only saw it in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom or something like that.
Not my thing.
All righty. Okay, I've been starring some comments here. And I'll stop. Let me star that so I know where I would go back to. So we got some here. So Terry, B312 mentions steakums. Actually,
That sounds familiar.
I still eat steakums. So they're not necessarily that brand, but you're talking about the thin shaved steaks. They warm up real quick. I still get them at my big box club, and I'll have them in with some Egg Life wraps. And they're carnivore, and it's a quick fix if you're hungry and you don't want to spend a lot of time cooking. That's a quick fix. Eat some steakums.
I'll see some thin sliced steaks like that at Costco.
They're like Philly steak is what they are. They're Philly steak meat. Yeah. So Jamet says moon pies. Yeah, I remember moon pies. Yeah,
I like moon pies.
I liked them.
I couldn't stand those things. I ate one and I'm like, that's disgusting.
I like moon pies with an RC cola.
I was
How can you say you're from the South? How can you tell somebody you're from the South without actually telling them, I like my moon pies and my RC cola?
I've eaten moon pies. They weren't exactly like, I didn't find them to be incredible or anything, but if I was hungry, I would eat them. So
I like them. So how many people put peanuts in their Coke?
I did that.
No.
Darn right I did.
Oh, that's interesting.
Putting peanuts in your Coke.
What is a DO? So that's a doctor of osteopathic medicine.
Yeah. I posted it on the chat too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, these days there's not really much substantial difference between the two. They both have to go through the same courses, have the same many hours, but the DO will actually take a couple hundred hours of osteopathic medicine, and that has to do a lot with musculature, like applying pressure points and massaging and things like that, or moving and stretching to try and help the body that an MD would not take. But as far as their doctor ability, if that's even a word, there's not much difference between a DO and an MD these days. It used to be in the past that MDs would kind of look down their noses at the DO, which, for some reason, I don't know. It was just a social thing back then, but not anymore. They're both respectable. So a doctor can be a DO or an MD. And, but the DO, their philosophy is to try and get you to get to the root cause and try and get you to find a way for you to heal yourself, let your body heal naturally first, medications second. So.
And I've always heard that MDs tend to look down their nose at DOs, think they're lesser doctors or not real doctors.
In the past,
they've had the same training as the MD, and then added training on top of that, which places their education level even higher than the MD. But it wasn't until I got into nutrition and carnivore and started understanding human physiology a little bit that I came to understand that, DOs or the MDs have no reason to look down their nose on anybody.
Carnivore Jerry says Dr. Adam Nally, DO, also known as Doc Muscles, not so having the muscles in his name and being a DO, that makes sense, is a prominent physician in Surprise, Arizona, who specializes in ketogenic and carnivore lifestyles. That's interesting.
Excellent.
Is that out by you? Is that your doctor? That's interesting. Yeah, I looked up carnivore keto doctors, I think, on some website. Brought me to one. It's kind of far away from here, though. Like, I just want a doctor down the street. That's all I really care about. Carnivore Jerry also says, hi, Amy and Juju. I bet you all that banana and God sent down from heaven, that would be manna. For the Jew was gluten-free. Who knows what it is? You know what manna actually means in Hebrew? The definition for the word manna is, what is it? That's why they called it manna, because it came down and they could gather it up and eat it, but they didn't know what it was. What is it?
And they better not have extra. If they got extra, it went bad on them. They was told to just get it just enough for that day.
Yep. That
That's
day.
why you have your faith for your daily bread.
Yep. Yeah. So
completely.
that taught a number of valuable lessons. So one, not to be greedy, Two, not to worry about the next day, only worry about today. And in fact, Jesus said the same thing. Savior, don't worry about tomorrow's anxieties. Today's got enough. Just worry about those. And so, people who gathered up more than what they needed that day were either greedy or worried about what they would eat tomorrow. But the whole point of that was to learn to rely on God to provide what you need and not your own wisdom. So if they gathered too much, it would turn to worms, right?
I think it just
or
went
it
bad.
would just spoil. Okay.
Spoil.
It would make sense if it just spoil. So maybe it's spoiled and therefore worms were attracted to it, so, or maybe it had nothing to do with worms at all. That might be in my head. So maybe I'm making it more dramatic than it actually was. I have to look it up. Shemet says, I love your Egg Life wraps. You recommend so many uses. Yes, Egg Life wraps are amazing. So you can make tacos, you can make sandwiches, you can make quesadillas, you can make all kinds of lovely carnivore things with the Egg Life wraps. They are pure, as far as I'm concerned, they're pure enough. There's a little carrageenan in them, but I don't think it's enough to really have a fit about. So, squirrel brains and scrambled eggs. Oh, that's interesting. Dr. Nally co-authored the book, The Keto Cure, a low-carb, high-fat dietary solution to heal your body and optimize your health with Jimmy Moore. Okay, there we go. Book recommendation. I haven't heard of him, but it sounds like a good book. I'm definitely on board with that. Keto and low carb does wonders for people. Let's see here. Retired Rick loves some mountain oysters.
You bet you.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I've never had any. It doesn't sound appealing, knowing what they are.
Though.
So
They are though, but these days I'd have to bread them in panko pork rinds and deep fry them in lard or tallow.
Oh, were they usually breaded?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you bread them, with flour breading and then deep fry them in peanut oil or something. But these days I'd have to change it up just like I do my catfish.
A salty treat.
All right. Let's see here. I've been on a sardine fast for 2 days. Don't think I can take another day. My ketones are 2.7 though. Yeah, I can have sardines once in a while. I don't know if that could be all I have. Oh, and poor Amy, all this food talk. She's trying to muscle her way through the last 11 hours of her fast.
Oh, let's pile it on, Amy.
Does anyone remember that Tasty Cake changed their name of their peanut butter Tandy Cakes to Candy Cakes in the 70s? I don't. That'd be before my time.
Well, it wasn't before my time, but I don't think we had that down here. It doesn't sound familiar to me.
The last one I had maybe 10 years ago and tasted weird, but the jelly, the butterscotch, and the peanut butter were consumed in my lunches often. So, my weakness was when it came to sweets was caramel. So that was always delicious. And the closest thing I've come to that actually is a butter bites. So I've made butter bites with a little bit of allulose in there or some stevia, and it caramelizes and it tastes almost like a caramel treat. Not exactly like a caramel treat, but it comes close. Jamet says, we had meatballs yesterday at 3 p.m. with eggs, was filling, so today stayed busy and walked. Will be okay until tomorrow. 2 or 3 as I usually eat once a day. All right, so that means you skipped eating today. Is that right, Jamet?
I just remembered something. I think somebody said something about ketones. And it reminded me on my something I found interesting on my blood test was in my urinalysis, because they did a urinalysis as well as blood test. So it wasn't in my blood test, but in my urinalysis, it showed for glucose negative and for ketones negative, which I found that to be interesting.
Let's see here. Carnivore Jerry says, just an FYI, on Saturday, February 14th, I will be hosting an online Rick's Heart Attack for Her challenge. It's not for speed. It's you make it and you eat it. And there will be on YouTube. Okay. So very good. Let's look you up, because I'm assuming you have a channel. Let me look.
She
this
does.
up.
What a great day. February
Carnivore.
14th would be a perfect day for it.
I need to look at my calendar. I think I'm being interviewed by Target Prime Rib on that day or someday in February. Let me see. Yeah, so what time is it? At 4 p.m. on that day, I will be on Target Prime Rib's channel. So, unless he allows me to restream it simultaneously. So, what time is the challenge there? Here we go. Carnivore Jerry. Her channel's called In the Middle of a Forest. So I'm going to post that over here. So over there in the chat, that is the link to Carnivore Jerry's channel. You can go over there and subscribe and click the notification bell. And then when the 14th runs around, you can watch the Heart Attack for Her challenge. All right. Very good. Flavored whipped tallow bites are good. Oh, that's interesting. You make them the same way you make butter bites? I'll have to look that up. So flavored, what do you flavor them with? Because I think tallow by itself would be kind of dull. I've eaten tallow with a spoon and it's boring. So, yeah. Do any or all of you guys want to get on the burger action? Well, I've thought about that. I talked to Rick about it, how I would, because him and Amy did that similarly, a month ago ish. And that's something that I might do. Here we go. Burger patties must be heart shaped because it's February 14th. That's funny. All right. It's the same heart attack burger that Rick guided Chef Amy through it successfully a couple of weeks ago on YouTube. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, it's the heart attack burger. Trademark Charger Mopar. So you got to make it and you got to eat it. If you can. From what I understand, Kelly here tried to make one and eat one, and he lost.
It was just half the size of that, and I had to fit. I'm like 2 bites left. I'm like, here, yeah, I'll give it to the dog.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's quite a challenge. So we'll have to make
I
one.
could probably if I don't eat all day. I can probably eat the 2 pounds of ground beef with the cheese and maybe some bacon, but you add the bun to it, forget it. I can't finish it.
And that bun was like a carnivore keto bun, right?
Yeah, pretty
Yes,
much.
you know
It's
that's going to be dense.
It was like a chaffle.
yeah, it was like it's like cheese, 2 eggs, and pork panko.
Yeah, that's how I make my chaffles.
Bill Cook uses lemon flavoring for his whipped tallow bites. That actually sounds good. I like lemon flavored stuff. All right. They haven't come up with a time yet, so stay tuned. All right.
Now, is this going to be on Rick's channel or your channel?
Well, I think Carnivore Jerry's channel. That's why I shared the
Okay.
link to it. It could be if it's done through. Well, I think even on YouTube now. I think you can do joint streams on YouTube, unless they do it through StreamYard. So where multiple people can participate. That might have to be actually. I think you can do 2 video. You can do. I think it's if you live stream on YouTube, it's just you and one other person, and you can both claim or have a copy of it. But I think if you want to have more than one participant, you're probably going to have to bounce over to something like StreamYard where you can have 10, or EVMux where you can have 12. So, but of course, Carnivore Jerry would be able to give us the deets on that. All right. All right, very good. Okay, so it's 10:16. We're heading down within the last few moments here. We'll probably wrap this up by 10:30. So now's your last chance. If you have any comments that you want to make, anything you want to share, any goals, tell us how you doing with your January World Carnivore Challenge. How you feeling? You know, have you had any results? Have you benefited? Let's see some of that. And then, of course, if you want to jump on screen, we've got probably about 15 minutes left, and I'll post the link in there again. So we were up to 40 viewers. We're down to 23, so people are starting to go to bed. So, all right. And we got one on Facebook and the other 22 on YouTube right now. Interesting when you click on the stats. So, all right. Let's see here. So what did we have in the way of news lately? This was kind of interesting. I'll share this for something to talk about. In Carnivore News, I posted this over on the forum. Let me find my share screen here. Let me go up to the top of this here. Okay. Here we go. Junk food advert ban comes into effect with soft drinks, pork, and chocolate included. This is over in Europe, in the UK, I should say specifically. And the government estimates that the ad ban will prevent around 20,000 cases of childhood obesity. Figures suggest 1 in 10 reception-age children is now obese. So basically what they're doing in the UK, so it's not just here in the States, but it's also in the UK and different places here. They are banning from television advertising for unhealthy food. And so the ban prevents ads for less healthy food and drinks that are high in saturated fat, salt, and sugar appearing on television between 5:30 a.m. and 9 p.m. So commercials for processed food can't be seen during the day when children are most likely to be awake. They will only play what they call during watershed hours, which is after 9, when they expect most children to be in bed. That's when like more of the adult programming comes in. What do you think of this? Do you think that banning commercials for processed food would have a far-reaching effect, or a little effect, or no effect?
I'm not a big fan of government interference in our lives too much. But if this is in the UK, doesn't the UK government own the airways or the news or whatever it is?
I'm not
television?
sure. So,
I don't know if they're private enterprise or not. But with that being said, I don't like government interference and stuff. So, but we've done it here in America ourselves. You know, you remember when you don't see cigarette commercials anymore.
right.
Did banning cigarette commercials from the airwaves, did that change anything?
I don't know about that single act, but I believe smoking is down.
Yes, it's tremendously down.
Yeah,
It used to be 40. What was I saw? Something like 43% of Americans smoked, and now it's down to like 16%, 14%, something like that. So I mean, yeah. Well, there was a big anti-smoking campaign, and but was it the ads, the lack of ads that did it, or just the campaign itself? You know, we've had campaigns to try to eat what they considered healthy before, and obviously did no good. Well, maybe it did do some good because their health caused a lot of diabetes, cancer, and heart attacks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if banning advertising will do anything. I can't. I'd rather see it be a. I'd rather see it be a voluntary thing, you know, and not a mandatory thing from the government.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit different. I think things that are, definitely harmful, I don't mind seeing a restriction on that. So, like, cigarettes, as far as I'm concerned, they should be legal. There's absolutely nothing good that comes from a cigarette. Now, granted, that might face some incredible pushback. Everything's been legalized over the years, from alcohol to now marijuana. So if I say it should be legal,
okay,
everybody's going to laugh at me.
Alcohol is another good example. You know, they banned, alcohol advertisements. Now, they didn't have a stop drinking campaign like they did with smoking, but did their banning of alcohol commercials, did it change anything? I personally don't think it did.
Is there a ban on alcohol commercials?
You don't see it. I think you can still see some beer commercials.
Yeah, I was just saying that's
but
what I meant.
You don't. But by alcohol, we generally think of the strong stuff. I don't think on regular TV, I don't think you see alcohol commercials anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. So, like, I mean, I don't watch a lot of TV that has commercials, so I could not objectively tell you whether or not. But I remember beer commercials. You still see those during the Super Bowl. It's probably the only time I watch commercials because I'm watching for the commercials.
I can't.
I remember ads for. I remember ads for Di Serono. That's that.
But were they on the big three networks?
Yeah.
See, if they were on private, like a
cable network,
they can advertise anything they want.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the last time I seen a commercial for, Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something like that.
That's interesting. Excuse me. I'm getting tired. It's not to be something I look into. So yeah, that's interesting.
But anyways, I just don't know that it'll do much good. I'm not against, dropping those commercials. But as far as the United States goes, I would just soon it not be a government thing so much as it just be a voluntary thing.
All right.
But I don't see that happening.
And then here's another one. Actually, let me check up on some comments here. Brian Dish says, I think they should ban medical drug commercials. Those are annoying. especially when they got to list off all the possible side effects in the last like 10 seconds. A million
My
miles per hour.
understanding, they're the highest percentage of commercials on TV today.
Right. Let's see here. I think no commercials on fast food would be beneficial.
Maybe
So I don't know.
it couldn't hurt.
It couldn't hurt, but I do the ultra processed food. Like, I used to remember watching Saturday morning cartoons, and that's where you need to have the commercials for fruit roll-ups and, Count Chocula and Fruit Loops and, Captain Crunch and,
Yep.
and, all kinds of sugary stuff. But it was literally the commercial was tailor made for children, so that children would want it and cry and beg their parents. And then they put them in the checkout aisles, so the parents have to deal with the whiny kids and they get what they want. All those tactics, I think, I'd be comfortable with those being banned. So I do get the sentiments about less government interference, but when it comes to harmful things, and that people don't objectively, pay attention to, I think something that comes on a little stronger like that. So that what the UK is doing over there, I actually think is pretty cool. So, TV would be out of business if they quit advertising. Yeah. So advertising.
There's plenty of stuff out there to advertise. But, then again, when it comes to that food, there's a lot of big money in big food.
Yeah. Congress never banned smoking because so many of them were smokers. Yeah, that could be. I could see that. Medication commercials are out of control. The side effects are crazy. I feel the attitude of so many people these days is push back for the sake of pushing back. Not much anyone says to educate on health and nutrition will be met with opposition and a tougher pushback. Well, you're right.
That brings up an excellent point.
Yep.
We need education.
Yeah. Education.
Let people make their own decision.
So,
but give them an informed, educated choice to make.
Absolutely. But your first sentence too is also accurate. Yeah. People today, they just want to disagree for the sake of disagreeing. Everybody just wants to argue for no reason whatsoever. So over the littlest, all over the dumbest stuff. Usually everything that goes on the news, I think most things have a blatant right and wrong, but then you always have people like arguing the opposite.
That's because the news presents it as one side or another instead of just presenting the news.
Right.
Just tell me what the facts are. Let me make up my own mind. Don't try to make it up for me.
Cheyenne, as someone that goes to school, I support the food pyramid being flipped because the food is really unhealthy and not good, too many carbs.
Amen.
Yeah, the new food pyramid is definitely a step in the right direction. And if you're including, if you have to have a space for all your quote unquote food groups on that pyramid somewhere, I think they have them listed in a pretty decent order. Particularly the one I used on my thumbnail that matches the description, not the cartoony one, but it's still, the cartoony one's confusing,
So something I just thought of on changing the school lunch programs, if they were to do that, how long before the schools start screaming and crying about how expensive it is?
Oh, that could be. Yeah. So now if we're bringing in real food instead of cheap ultra processed junk, then now we got to find ways to raise more money because the food is so expensive, huh?
Yeah. There was a reason why they served at cheap frozen pizza instead of, steaks at lunch in our school.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. I remember Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. These drug commercials for medications shouldn't be allowed because you need to ask your doctor for them. What's the difference between that and the guy on the corner selling drugs?
Not much.
Right. Yeah, so that's an interesting point. Instead of the doctor saying, this is what I think you should take, the commercials basically arm you as the patient to go beg your doctor for what you saw on TV. That might not be what's good for you.
I always found it funny how they rip through the side effects so fast that you can't keep up with them, and then the very last one that they say will be, "Do not take this drug if you're allergic to this drug."
Right.
How,
I just think the side
how
effects.
are you gonna know if you don't take it if you're allergic?
Right. The side effects are usually pretty scary. Like, it can cause anything from, spontaneous combustion to death. Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
Yeah.
Then one last
Well,
one.
and we talked about that, and you mentioned it, on the Ozempic deal, about them not telling us about them. Well, like my doctor, when he suggested I go on a weight loss drug, like Ozempic, he never once said a word to me about the side effect. He didn't say, "Hey, I believe this could help you, but you must be aware that this could harm you." He never said a word.
Yeah, I wish I knew that a certain medication would have harmed me.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. And this was interesting here. New study shows that some plant-based diets may raise heart disease risk. And particularly, it says plant foods when they are ultra-processed. Oh, wait a minute. Researchers tracking over 63,000 adults found that high-quality, minimally processed plant foods significantly reduce cardiovascular risk, but when those plant foods are ultra-processed, the advantage disappears and can even backfire. Ultra-processed plant diets increase risk by 40%. The study shifts towards whole, naturally nutrient-rich plant foods.
What is an ultra-processed plant?
Well, all your grains, all your
Okay.
sugars, those would be highly ultra
Those are
processed.
plants. All right.
Yep. And asparagus, broccoli, this is going to be less bad than wheat and sugar cane. So I get it. So ultra processed plant foods. So most everything in the grocery store that comes in a wrapper or a box and doesn't need refrigeration is an ultra processed plant product. People can take plants, particularly grains, mash them up into a powder, mill them down, and turn them into almost anything. Your chocolate cake is a plant food.
Yeah, true.
So whereas meat's just meat. You can turn it into, bologna is still just meat. You can turn it into deli meat, deli ham. It's just meat. You grind it up, you repackage it in a different shape, and it's still just meat, and it's not bad for you. But plants, you can turn into all kinds of products, thousands, hundreds of thousands of products. They're all a combination of grains, sugars, and seed oils. And those are then that's what this study here is targeting. So I really do like that there is currently a push to try and get people to stop eating ultra processed foods and start eating real food. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So in conclusion of our topic, I think the pyramid as it stands, I have some opinions on it, some tweaks and that I would make to it, but generally speaking, the order of importance that they put these things in, I would agree with. So, and I think that and again, you don't have to eat something from every section of that pyramid. That's where someone I think makes a mistake. Like, I should eat lots of steak and make sure I get one cupcake in a day. No, that's not what that means. It's just so the more you live closer to the top of that pyramid, the more you're going to benefit. And the more you live down to the narrow bottom of that pyramid, the more sick you're going to be. And I think, if you look at it that way, I think the new pyramid is actually pretty beneficial. Hopefully it'll stick. Hopefully people will apply it, and we'll see. It's only a couple
see,
days old.
If I was a sad eater and I saw that, I'd go, hey, that's great. I can eat steak and eggs and butter and that's great. You know, that's on the guideline. But I see, oh, it gives me permission to eat that cupcake.
Yeah.
It's giving me the permission. It's allowing me to eat that.
Yeah, because it didn't say avoid. It said
No,
minimized.
minimize.
Yeah.
So I can still have that ice cream. I can still have that cupcake.
Yeah.
I'm
All
glad they
right.
didn't have pizza on there, though.
Yeah. All right, but that would fit down there in the ultra processed section there.
Yep.
So I was watching, you know how we watch these, we've seen these videos about how seed oils are made, and you show them like they're gunky running through a factory, this nasty syrup being separated and the chemicals added and bleach and whatever. And you're like, oh, gross. I can't believe someone would put that in their mouth. Go watch a video on how sugar is made. It's actually remarkably similar. You know, they harvest the grain and then they they mill it down, they boil it to separate, you get the sugar to come out of it, and they evaporate it so it's in their little crystals, and they run it through something too. And it's actually, you know, if you just thought that, oh, sugar is just sugar cane, no, it's not that simple. It's not
No,
that
it's got
simple at all.
the glucose has to be extracted from the fibers of the cane itself. And you know, have you ever seen how maple syrup is made? I mean, it's a process like that too. You know, you harvest the sap, and then you got to boil it down.
There you go. This is the source of that paper. This is
Yeah, I saw Bill Cook was asking about that.
Science Daily. So I always, if you go to carnivoretalk.com in the diet and news section, I always link to the article source at the end of my pasted version of it. I'll post it in the chat here. So that's where it comes from. Science Daily is a news journal. It's printed out as if this is the study, but it doesn't. It references the study, so you can click on it down in the reference notes. You can actually click on, you know, where they get their information from. Yeah, but still a nice resource. All right. And Steadfast mentions cereals where you could find prizes at the bottom of the boxes, like Cheerios, for instance. And I know what the prize at the bottom of the box is the only way I would eat Cheerios. Cheerios was nasty because there was not enough sugar on it.
Well, that's why I used to put half a cup of sugar on my Cheerios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I didn't like Cheerios by themselves, but I would eat I'd eat a few Cheerios with my sugar.
yeah, a few Cheerios with your sugar. Yeah,
Yeah,
Same way with the cornflakes by themselves.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
disgusting.
had to
But
load them down.
I had a couple with a ton of sugar. It's good to go.
I'm ashamed to admit it. My favorite cereal back in the day was Captain Crunch, and then when they came out with Crunch Berries, that became my favorite. Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, and then when they came out with the peanut butter, everybody else fell behind. It was Captain Crunch peanut butter.
yeah. I was into the sugary cereals too. I liked Fruity Pebbles. That was a good one, and I did, you know, eat quote unquote healthy cereals. My grandma got me into grape nuts, but I still had to throw some fruit and some sugar on the grape nuts to make it palatable.
I couldn't handle grape nuts.
Yeah, and then
I did shredded wheat.
used to love French toast, you know, with lots of maple syrup on it.
Oh, you bet.
Or cinnamon. If I was just lazy, I would put some white bread in a toaster, then melt some butter over it, and then mix up some sugar and cinnamon and make sugar cinnamon, my own cinnamon toast.
We kept a jar of cinnamon and sugar mixed just for cinnamon toast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we kept that in the pantry.
Yep. But that was a life gone by, because I will never let that substance
Talking about it,
touch my lips again.
talking about all that, it still doesn't trigger anything in me.
Nope.
Just don't care anymore.
I could be in the same room with it and it doesn't even appeal to me. So
Yep.
that's what's nice about having been carnivore for 2.5 going on 3 years is it just doesn't even register as food.
Yeah,
Doesn't
we had
temptation.
we had some family come down from Colorado this past weekend, and I cooked up 8 ribeyes and 8 New York strips, smoked them on my smoker, and we made a carnivore dip, and then we had a non-carnivore dip, and wife bought some chips and everything. Of course, I had my pork rinds, and we had some other stuff that wasn't carnivore there, and there was a cheesecake there, and we had some Coke, some A&W root beer, and some Coca-Cola, some Dr. Pepper, because we're not going to force anybody to adhere to our lifestyle, so we'll put the poison out there for the sad eaters. And it's just something that just amazes me that all that stuff can be in the house, the chips and everything, corn chips and potato chips and all, and the bad dip, and none of it is attempted. None of it's tempting to me. It's not even food.
It don't even appeal to me anymore.
No, not in the least. And I even after 2.5 years of being a carnivore, I'm still amazed by that, how food does not attract me anymore. It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't eat. The best description I heard, I came across is that I don't eat for entertainment. I eat strictly for nutrition now. I eat because I need to eat. But all that other stuff doesn't bother me.
Yep, it doesn't bother me either. So I just had the same conversation with my son at work, that, I eat, for nutrition now, but, and that has to do with my health too, so like, before when I ate whatever, my health was all over the place. I can't even imagine what I would be now if I was still eating the way that I used to eat.
Yeah.
So, but I said this, would I love to hork down my favorite burrito at the Mexican restaurant that I used to eat all the time? Oh yeah. Would I love to hork down a pizza? No doubt, but I'm not going to.
Only as my last meal.
Because my value, I value my health. Yeah. Last meal. That's If it was my time, then yeah, sure. I'm gonna sign off, with a pizza. I get it, but but again, I don't want to check out early. So.
And for me, if I'm gonna have pizza, I'm gonna make it myself, and I know what I put on it, and it'd be all 100% carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's my last meal, I'm gonna have a real pizza, and it's gonna be from Caparelli's Pizza in San Antonio. My favorite pizza in the whole world, and I used to work for them.
Back in the day, mine would be slightly heavy on the sauce, and I would get bacon, banana pepper, tomato, and feta cheese. That was my winning combination there. My favorite. And if they had it, artichoke hearts. So that was my favorite pizza topping. So
mine was just, and even back then, just meat and cheese. Well, I would put onions on it.
My favorite pizza, I don't know if you heard Casey's. Well, now they're just Casey's, but Casey's General Store, there always was famous for their taco pizza. They're big in Iowa, but they're big in Iowa and Missouri, and that was my go-to pizza, was a taco pizza.
Here's an interesting comment. I had some vanilla flavoring on an oopsie cake, and it was a bit strong. I dreamed I could now drink beer while I stay carnivore. Okay. The oopsie cake is interesting. Vanilla flavoring. So yeah. Oopsie rolls. I mean, I haven't made them in like 15 years. So I used to go to lowcarbfriends.com, and I remember the woman that invented those things, and I used to make them because it was like, oh my gosh, feels just like a hamburger bun. But just like everything else, it gets to be like, I'm a lazy carnivore. I'm just like, throw the meat in the pan, sear it, done. Throw the eggs in the pan, maybe break the yolks, make an omelet, throw some sausage in it, done. Like, it's a lot of these like recipes to come up with carnivore bread or carnivore pizza or whatever. Oopsie cakes, carnivore bread, even chaffles. Like I was making chaffles for a while, and then I just don't like taking the time to clean the waffle maker. So
I don't make them near as much as I used to.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a simple carnivore dieter. I'm literally just heat the meat and eat. So
it's one of the beauties of carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep it as simple or as complicated as you want.
Yeah, when it comes to that stuff, if I'm gonna make anything with bread, it's gonna be the simplest thing, because all these complicated recipes out there, I mean, they're nice, but I'd rather just keep it simple.
And the most unsimple thing I make is taco night. But and that's I'll deviate. There's some seasonings I get from the local store that is as clean as I can find them. I season my beef with that. But I don't have a problem with seasonings, so I don't care. And but yeah, then it's egg life wrap, sour cream, cheese, and if I feel like it, maybe some salsa, for a little extra flavor. And that's it. That's I mean, but that takes 10 minutes to make that taco meat, if that. So because that sears up and browns pretty quickly too. So yeah, no, everything I make is just I can usually cook whatever dinner I eat normally in like 10 minutes. So fish will be an exception. I'll make fish in the oven, and that's like 25. But even then, just take the fish out, slap it on the cookie sheet, stick it in the oven. I'll put Old Bay seasoning on that. So, all right. Okay, well, that's it. I'm willing to call it quits. So thank you all in the chat who hung around and decided to spend your evening with us here. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Paul and Jeff and Kelly, for joining us on screen this week. And, we look forward to seeing you next week. Keep up the good effort with your January resolutions, your carnivore challenges for World Carnivore Month. Next week, I want to hear everyone back saying how successful they've been and sticking to it. And I want to hear the results that you're having. And everybody just keep up the good work. Make this month count. And then at the end of this month, you know what, maybe extend it into next month and make that month count too. So if you can make it 30 days, you can make it 60. And if you can make it 60, you can make it 90. And if you can make it 90, you can make it 6 months or a year. So this is a good way to get started and commit to it. Outside of that, we'll see you next Monday. I've been catching up on YouTube comments, and we'll see you over in the forums. Remember, we're doing the $100 in Carnivore Crisp giveaway. Details are there. And so you can find out how to enter for free. Go read that thread. That's it. Good night, everybody. We see Cheyenne saying good night, and there's Bill saying good night, and Feral Grandma, and Brian Dish, and I know some more are going to come in, and we appreciate that. So yes, you two have a good night. Jeff and Kelly, you have a good night. If you want to stick around after we go off the air, you can. And that's that. We love you all. Take care.
Good night, y'all.
Night.